Chapter 3876. The short old man was well aware of the mountain master's temperament. After hearing the mountain master's words, he couldn't help but have a guess in his heart. He didn't continue to persuade him and turned to leave. At this moment, a strong thought appeared in his mind, and he couldn't get rid of it no matter what. Next, he held the mentality of watching a good show, watching Zi Chen and the other two obtain the opportunity. He wasn't anxious or impatient. This situation lasted for a full 4 hours, and the amount of resources consumed was enormous. The first to stop absorbing was Zi Chen's spirit shield. Next was Zi Chen's staff. Then, it wasn't Lan Jiyu Meng's sword, but Shan Yai's miracle stone, which surprised Zi Chen. After all, the longer it lasted, the greater the harvest. In terms of quality, there shouldn't be any weapon that could compare to the miracle stone. The 4 Holy Soul weapons that had been promoted to the top 100 stopped absorbing energy. The 3 of them put away their weapons. A passage appeared in front of the 3 of them. This was the passage to leave. It should lead to the top of the mountain. After the 3 of them looked at each other, Zi Chen walked forward. However, after taking a step, he was surprised to find that he didn't reach the top of the Holy Weapon Mountain, but the entrance of the passage. In front of him, there was only one passage left, which led directly to the Holy Soul Mountain. After obtaining nothing on the Holy Talisman Mountain, the Holy Soul Mountain became Zi Chen's last hope. At the same time, Shan Ya and Noah also arrived at this place. The 2 of them didn't reach the top of the mountain, which surprised Zi Chen. However, when he thought of the situation he encountered at the top of the mountain, perhaps everything would have to wait until the end. At this moment, there was only one passage left in front of the 2 of them. Coincidentally, it was also the Holy Soul Mountain. Then let's go together. Zi Chen smiled faintly and stepped into the passage. Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya followed closely behind. However, at this time, the 3 of them had closed all the bets, so it was impossible for anyone to place a bet. In the eyes of the people in the city, Zi Chen's group of 3 was clearly the strongest group that had entered the Saint Soul Mountain this time. After all, the 3 of them had hundreds of weapons. Who could compete with them in this place? For a time, most people sighed and regretted. If they had known the result would be like this, they would have made a lot of money by betting on Zi Chen. Why would they still be sighing here? In the Saint Soul Mountain, the Saint Soul technique was the main focus. If one was lucky enough, almost everything one saw could be a Saint Soul technique. For example, after killing a mutated beast, one might obtain a Saint Soul technique. For example, an ancient tree that had gained sentience could also be a wood-type offensive spell technique. You fought with Yu Yi? Lan Jiyu Meng asked. Walking on the first floor, the 3 of them were very relaxed, as if they were tourists enjoying the scenery. I won by luck. Zi Chen said, if it weren't for Yu Yi's shield, I'm afraid that the battle with Saint Lun would have been much more difficult. With nothing to do, Lan Jiyu Meng asked some more details of the battle, and Zi Chen answered them one by one. Yu Gui rested on Zi Chen's shoulder and scanned the surroundings. Once there was anything that didn't know what to do, it would attack immediately. Yu Gui's combat strength was also extraordinary. It had no problem bringing Zi Chen's group safely to the 2nd floor. Did you see Hongyi? Lan Jiyu Meng's beautiful eyes looked at Zi Chen as she stepped forward. Zi Chen shook his head and said, no, I didn't see Longrui either. I did see Noah. Shan Ya on the other side said, we didn't see them either. I don't know how they are. In fact, this was normal because the Saint Soul Mountain was very big, like a world. Not everyone could encounter it. There were quite a few people on this level. They were all existences that did not have the qualifications to enter the 2nd level. Thus, they were trying their best to find the best opportunity on this level. Along the way, after seeing Zi Chen's group, many people's eyes flashed, but after thinking about it, they dismissed the idea of robbing. This disappointed many people in the city who were prepared to watch a good show. Soon, they arrived at the passage to the 2nd floor, and there were more people wandering around. There was no guard at the entrance of the passage, but there was a strange force that blocked those who were not qualified on this floor. In other words, they couldn't see the passage to the 2nd floor at all, so they couldn't go up. This was the obstruction of the Saint Soul Mountain. The three of them entered the passage and went up to the second floor. The area on the second floor was wider, so there were naturally more people on this floor. The three of them naturally wouldn't stay here for too long and headed straight for the third floor. When they were about to reach the entrance of the third floor, Zichen suddenly stopped. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Yue also stopped at the same time. Do you want to follow us directly to the third floor? Zichen's indifferent voice sounded. He had already noticed that they were being followed. Footsteps came from behind them, and many people appeared. Your perception is quite sharp. A laugh was heard, and a young man in luxurious clothes walked out from behind the crowd. The people in the city who were originally listless were all energized after seeing this scene. Since he dared to find trouble with Zichen, it was obvious that there was something fun to watch. No one was familiar with this young man, but it was obvious that he had a strong background. He had gathered many people in the Saint Soul Mountain, and he specialized in robbing. Moreover, he took pleasure in it, and didn't care much about the opportunities here. The voice came from behind. Zichen turned around and looked at the young man. The young man was wearing a long robe with flowing brilliance. He was showing off very much, as if he was worried that others wouldn't know that his robe was of extraordinary quality. There were many people around the young man, and they were all in the human soul realm. However, Zichen didn't care. His gaze fell on the young man's side, where a strong man stood there like an iron tower. The strong man's eyes were full of vigilance, but there was also some worry in them. He should be the young man's guardian. The young man said, I haven't had enough fun here, and I didn't expect a big fish to come. Shan Kuei told me that the three of you are quite famous, and that you were the first or second in the previous quota. He told me not to provoke you. But in my opinion, you are just lucky. The young man pointed at himself and said, Since I was young, I have never lacked luck. Therefore, it is truly your misfortune to have met this young master, who is the luckiest man in his life. Zichen frowned. What are you trying to say? The young man stretched out his hand again, pointing at Shan Yue and Lan Jiumeng and said, I came in a hurry this time, and didn't bring any maids with me. Let them serve me, and you can leave. Shan Yue and Lan Jiumeng's eyes immediately turned cold. Zichen said indifferently, Do you want to die? The young man looked at Zichen and said proudly, In my eyes, there is no such thing as death. The next moment, the young man waved his hand and said, Beat him hard. But don't kill him. I don't like to see blood. It's inauspicious. Hearing this, the people around rushed toward Zichen. In the city, most of the people who saw this scene couldn't bear to look at it. Chapter 3877. Bang, bang, bang. Powerful shockwaves spread out in all directions. Sand and stones flew up from the ground, and thick smoke billowed. The existences that were rushing towards Zichen came quickly and flew even faster. No one could block Zichen's attack, and they were all blown away. After they landed on the ground, their faces were filled with shock as they looked at Zichen in disbelief. They did not continue to move forward because they were not seriously injured. Obviously, it was not because the opponent was not strong, but because he did it deliberately. The control of this power made them even more frightened. If they insisted on moving forward, they would be courting death. In fact, the reason why they were not injured was because the young man had said that the opponent did not want to kill them. The strong man who looked like an iron tower stood in front of the young man. When he looked at Zichen again, it was as if he was facing a great enemy. He had arrived late and did not see the scene of Zichen obtaining first place in the assessment. He had only heard about it, so he did not pay too much attention to it. However, with the principle of avoiding unnecessary trouble, he advised the young master not to act rashly. He did not expect the opponent to be so strong. It was useless to rely on numbers. He also saw that the opponent did not want to kill him. The confident smile on the young man's face disappeared. He looked at Zichen with surprise. I didn't expect you to have some skills. But do you think you can scare me? Shan Kuei, beat him. The strong man named Shan Kuei said hesitantly, Young master, it's getting late. Didn't you say you were hungry? Shouldn't we prepare to eat? The young man said with dissatisfaction, If I don't beat this guy to death, how can I be in the mood to eat? Beat me. Beat him hard, don't hold back. Shan Kuei looked helpless, but when he turned around, his eyes became firm. He cupped his fists at Zichen and said, "Excuse me." The next moment, a violent aura surged out from Shan Kuei's body. He rushed forward in an instant, and his aura was like rolling thunder. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng each took a step forward, wanting to fight. Zichen slowly shook his head. With a flash of his body, he moved forward. Lightning radiated from his body. Compared to Shan Kuei's thunderous aura, Zichen's power was the true power of thunder. The two figures met in midair, and it was as if two mountains had collided, causing a loud boom. The airwaves rolled far away, and the trees in the distance were snapped in half. Countless leaves danced in the air. Shan Kuei's figure was pushed back by the collision, and his expression became more serious. With a slight sway of his body, he neutralized the opponent's power and continued forward. This time, he used his martial arts. One move after another was displayed. The young man stood below and lifted his head to look at this scene. His eyes gradually narrowed as his expression changed. He was well aware of how strong Shan Kuei was, but in this physical confrontation, Shan Kuei was actually retreating. He was clearly at a disadvantage. The young man's face was filled with dissatisfaction. "Shan Kuei, don't hold back anymore. Let's fight." Hearing the young man's words, Shan Kuei's eyes narrowed. An even more powerful aura surged out from his body. Along with the appearance of this aura, a complete set of armor appeared on Shan Kuei's body. This set of armor covered Shan Kuei's entire body, including his head, hands, and feet. Only his eyes were exposed. It could be said that Shan Kuei was armed to the teeth. "Excuse me." Shan Kuei, who was fully armed, spoke again. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed forward. This time, it was as if he was carrying a monstrous wave of anger, and his aura was even more turbulent. Sensing the change in Shan Kuei's aura, Zichen's expression became serious. His opponent's combat strength was not very strong, but with this set of armor, he needed to take him seriously. Zichen threw out a punch. Lightning circled around his fist. This punch was full of momentum, and could be considered as his most powerful punch. A powerful vibration force circled around his fist. Boom! Like a thunderclap exploding in the sky, a terrifying fluctuation spread out. Those who were closer to the battlefield were directly sent flying by the aftermath. Shan Kuei took a step back. Zichen retreated 10 feet. The previous vibration force was also blocked by the armor and could not be transmitted into the opponent's body. Two streams of air appeared from below. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng's figures appeared. When they saw Zichen retreating, a strange look appeared in their beautiful eyes. One must know that Zichen could even defeat Shenglun, but now he was repelled by a person who stayed on the second floor. At this time, the city was also in an uproar. Although most people still did not recognize who the young man was, they recognized the origin of the armor on Shan Kuei's body. They really did not expect that the opening of the sacred mountain would even cause that family to send people here. Shan Kuei stood in the air, looking at Zichen, who was 10 feet away, and said, "You are not my opponent. Quickly retreat. Retreat. That won't do. Shan Kuei, you can't make the decision." The young man's voice sounded again, "How to deal with him is my business. Now you just need to beat him until he can't fight back." "Young master, this..." Before Shan Kuei could finish his words, he was interrupted by the young man. "Don't worry. Even if the sky falls, I will hold it up." Shan Kuei had to agree because he could not go against the young master's wishes. Zichen looked at the apologetic Shan Kuei and said, "In that case, I won't be polite." With a flash of brilliance, a spirit shield appeared in his hand. The young man could not help but sneer, "I thought you had a lot of skills. It turns out that you just want to block it. But can you block it?" Shan Kuei looked at the extraordinary spirit shield in Zichen's hand, his eyes flashing, and asked, "May I ask, is this Yu Yi's companion spirit shield?" "Good eyesight." Zichen held the shield in his right hand, saying, "Next, I won't hold back." "So, you defeated Yu Yi?" In Shan Kuei's eyes, fighting spirit rose. This was the excitement of seeing a prey. The young man's expression changed again. This time, There was a touch of interest in his eyes. Zichen held the shield and moved forward. Shan Kuei clenched his fist and attacked. He did not use his sole weapon. This battle armor armed to the teeth was his strongest weapon. In the sky, the two of them were like two meteorites, colliding again and again. The powerful fluctuations caused by the collision forced several people to retreat. Shan Ya and Lan Jiu Meng both retreated, leaving the battlefield to Zichen and Shan Kuei. One was a tailor-made battle armor made by a famous expert. The other was by Bing from Sacred Weapon Mountain. This was a real meeting of the strong. The young man who had retreated long ago looked at the scene of the collision in the sky, and a dazzling light appeared in his eyes. The deafening roar resounded through the sky. The spirit shield flickered. In addition to defense, the spirit shield also emitted a repulsive force, which repelled Shan Kuei every time. The battle lasted for nearly 20 breaths. After the last collision, Shan Kuei's battle armor exploded with a loud bang, announcing that it was broken. Chapter 3878. With the armor broken, Shan Kuei's battle prowess was naturally weakened. He was no longer a match for Zichen. The other party did not have the intention to kill, so Zichen stopped. Shan Kuei cupped his fists at Zichen and said in shame, "I lost." This was an indisputable fact because Zichen's light shield was still intact. Shan Kuei said again, "May I ask if this weapon has been baptized?" Zichen nodded and said, "Its grade should be in the top 100 now. Losing to 100 soldiers is not an injustice." Shan Kuei shook his head and sighed. He seemed to be free and easy, but his face was full of regret because the expensive armor was ruined just like that. "So what if it's 100 soldiers?" "Shan Kuei, don't underestimate others and destroy your own prestige." The young man in the distance suddenly soared into the air and stood in front of Shan Kuei. There was also a rising battle intent on his body. "Young master, you can't." Shan Kuei was shocked and hurriedly dissuaded him. He had personally experienced Zichen's battle prowess. Just that light shield alone was not something his young master could resist. It was unknown whether it was confidence or arrogance, but the young man waved his hand to signal Shan Kuei not to say anything. He looked at Zichen and said, "Today, I'll let you see what it means to say that there is always someone better than you. Don't think that you're invincible just because you have 100 soldiers." Zichen looked at the young man and saw that a powerful aura suddenly surged out from the young man's body. It was emitted by his long robe. "It's the Fang clan. It's definitely the Fang clan. Only the Fang clan can forge such an armor and such a unique magic spiritual robe." Seeing the young man's glowing robe, many people in the Sagely Mountain city exclaimed. The Fang clan was a force north of the Sagely Mountain, and it was a real big force. They were famous for refining defensive artifacts and were truly a huge clan with wealth that could rival countries. There had always been a rumor that the Fang clan's power could compete with one of the Sagely Mountains. It was obvious that they had a strong foundation. At this moment, the magic spiritual robe displayed by the young man was obviously of high quality. Zichen looked at the young man in front of him with coldness in his eyes. The young man smiled and said, "So what if you have 100 soldiers? If you're not good at attacking, how can you break through my defense?" All of a sudden, rays of light burst forth from the young man's robes. These rays of light scattered in all directions, forming a defensive barrier. "Even if I stand here and let you attack, you won't be able to break through my defense." The corners of the young man's mouth curled up. The sarcasm in his voice was very obvious. "Are you sure?" Zichen looked at the young man. The young man snorted and said, "Today, I will teach you a lesson. There is always someone better than you. Don't think that you are so amazing just because you defeated Yu Yi." Zichen withdrew his shield and switched to his baton. Light blossomed from the staff, and a powerful aura was released. Zichen's stick fell. Space seemed to be torn apart by this staff. Shan Kuei felt as if he was facing a great enemy. He wanted to go up and block, but without his armor, he would definitely die if he went up. The young man signaled Shan Kuei to step back with his eyes. As expected, Shan Kuei stood there without moving. Shan Kuei had no choice but to retreat. Zichen's staff fell on the young man's body. Countless ripples surged out like ripples on the surface of water, layer by layer, neutralizing the power of Zichen's staff. Zichen felt that the power of the staff was constantly dissipating, but the young man's defense was still intact. Zichen's heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had been careless. If it was a battle of life and death, he would be at a disadvantage. The young man still looked at Zichen with a smile. The sarcasm on his lips did not diminish. How is it? Zichen's second strike landed, and a purple-gold light blossomed from the body of the staff. With a bang, the youth's defense was immediately broken, and dozens of cracks appeared on his long robe. The young man's body flew backward. The previously arrogant robes hung on his body like rags, fluttering back and forth. "Young master!" Shan Kuei exclaimed and flew into the distance. However, his reaction was too slow. He did not expect that the difference in power between Zichen's first and second attack would be so great. The young man's body fell to the ground, and then he began to cough up blood. The surroundings were silent. Even the sagely mountain city was quiet for a moment. Shan Kuei came closer. The young man waved his hand and said, "I'm fine." As he spoke, he actually coughed up blood again. Shan Kuei was very worried about his young master, but he was more worried about Zichen. Hence, he turned around and looked at Zichen vigilantly. Zichen did not continue. He glanced at Shan Kuei, then at the young man, and then turned to leave. The young man staggered to his feet and looked at Zichen, who turned to leave. He laughed and let the blood flow from the corner of his mouth. He did not care and said, "This is only the second level, and you're already running away. Won't you be chased on the third level?" Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei looked back at the young man with cold eyes. It was Zichen who let him go. Not only did he not know how to be grateful, he even dared to provoke him. "Let's go." Just as the two of them were hesitating whether they should teach the other party a lesson, Zichen's voice rang out in their ears. The two of them could only follow Zichen. Before they left, they did not forget to warn the young man with hateful eyes. That's right. It must be the second generation of the Fang clan, Fang Wumian. He could have provoked anyone, but he dared to provoke Zichen. A set of armor and a magic robe were destroyed just like that. What a pity. What's there to pity? The Fang clan is rich and that person is Fang Wulian. He was born to be a prodigal. The second generation of the Fang clan, Fang Wulian, was affectionately called Fang Wumian because of his reputation. He could do anything shameless. For example, in this trial, he went to the Saint Soul Mountain. Not only did he not gain anything, but he also suffered a great loss. Furthermore, there were countless similar stories. He was extremely proficient in swindling, raping, plundering, jesting, and stealing. It was said that he himself was not well liked in the Fang clan. If it wasn't for his extraordinary status, he would have died countless times already. However, to the pity of countless people, Fang Wulian had a good family background. His brother was also the future leader of the Fang clan. Therefore, many people dared not speak out against him. Fang Wulian, who was called Fang Wumian, was wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. He patted Shan Kuei's shoulder and said, "You've worked hard." Shan Kuei was ashamed. "What's with your expression? Isn't it just a set of armor? I'll make you another set when we get back. Come, let's go back now." Fang Wulian said. "Go back now?" Shan Kuei was stunned and said, "But we haven't gotten anything yet. We haven't been to the third floor either. It's already like this. If we don't go back, are we waiting to be beaten up by others?" Fang Wulian waved his hand and said, "I'm not going to the third floor. With my personality, I might beat up anyone I don't like. Right now, I can't beat anyone. Come, let's go back to the Sagely Mountain City and call a few girls. We'll go to the undrunk brothel to drink and have fun." The city was filled with booze. Chapter 3879. After entering the third level, Zichen remained silent. He seemed to have a lot on his mind. Seeing Zichen's silence, Lan Jiumeng and Shan Wei were not in a good mood. Lan Jiumeng muttered, "Actually, we shouldn't have let that arrogant guy go. If it weren't for his robe, he wouldn't have been able to withstand even one move from Zichen." This was to comfort Zichen. Of course, It was also the truth. Zichen came back to his senses and smiled. I'm fine. I was just thinking about something and got a little distracted. Lan Jiu Meng smiled and teased, that's good. Shan Ye, and I thought you had suffered a blow. Zichen said, it's not a blow, but I did learn something. Lan Gumeng said in surprise, that guy doesn't look like a decent person at first glance. You actually took his nonsense seriously? Zichen smiled and did not explain. He was probably the only one who knew the reason behind this. On the third level of the Saint Soul Mountain, Zichen, Lan Jiu Meng, and Shan Ye each obtained a Saint Soul technique. This was what they deserved. Next, the three of them headed for the fourth level. As for whether they could reach the fourth level, Zichen was not worried at all. Lan Jiu Meng was a Saint Soul goddess. Her attainments in the Saint Soul technique were absolutely extraordinary. Entering the fourth level would not be a problem. Shan Ye's extraordinary background also proved that she had the potential. As for Zichen himself, he had to enter the fourth level to find the Dark Ghost Soul Devouring technique. This was his goal. There were obviously fewer people on this level. Some people they met along the way deliberately avoided them after seeing the three of them. This wasn't because they knew of Zichen's deeds in battle, and it was because they didn't want to cause trouble after coming here. If they were to fail miserably in an easy task and lose the fortune here, then the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. As they were about to reach the entrance of the fourth level, Zichen saw a person standing at the entrance of the fourth level. He was facing Zichen with his back to the entrance. It was a man with a young woman beside him. The young woman gave Zichen a familiar feeling, but he could not remember where he had seen her before. The three of them did not look at the woman. Instead, they looked at the man. They knew him. He had ranked fourth in the previous assessment. He was Luo Kang. If Zichen and the other two had not appeared out of nowhere, he would have taken first place last time. You are much slower than I imagined, Luo Kang said indifferently as he looked at Zichen. What's the matter? Asked Zichen. It's not a big deal. I just wanted to discuss with you what happened last time. Luo Kang walked forward. The woman beside him did not move. Her eyes were dull, as if she was a human-shaped puppet. Zichen stared at Luo Kang expressionlessly. At this moment, two more people appeared on both sides. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ye turned around to face the two. Zichen used his soul focus and said, don't be careless. Go all out. Luo Kang moved. His figure flashed and disappeared from the spot. Go all out. Zichen shouted. Light flashed in front of him. He held the shield in his left hand and the staff in his right. The moment he held the shield, he activated it with all his strength. Luo Kang appeared in front of him as if he had teleported. Like a torrent of power, he crazily poured towards Zichen. The shield blocked it. Boom. 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 The powerful force pushed Zichen back. At this moment, Zichen could only see the light of the bursting energy. Other than that, he could not see anything else. The powerful force was neutralized by the 100 soldiers' light shield. Some of the remaining force penetrated the light shield and entered Zichen's body. Within Zichen's body, there seemed to be the sound of a drum. Even though his physical body was strong after practicing combat arts, he was unable to withstand it at this moment. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Zichen's mouth. At this moment, Zichen's heart was filled with horror. If he had not been vigilant and attacked with all his strength, he would have been at a disadvantage because of his carelessness. Even if he did not die, he would be seriously injured. Obviously, this guy called Luo Kang came prepared. Countless rays of light bloomed. Zichen continued to gather power in the light shield, allowing the power in his body to be drained quickly. At this moment, he only wanted to defend. Counterattack did not exist. How are you? At the same time, he shouted and inquired about the two's situation. The two did not respond. Zichen's ears were full of raging energy. His perception had been blocked. This made his heart skip a beat, and he had a bad feeling. At this moment, the Sagely Mountain City was in an uproar. No one could have imagined that after killing Sheng Lun, Zichen, who was almost invincible, would be attacked so violently. Luo Kang was wearing armor, holding a weapon in his hand, and there were sacred talismans on both sides of him. He also had various weapons that could launch attacks. In an instant, he displayed a violent attack that directly drowned Zi Chen. At the same time, in another direction, Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng were also attacked. Fortunately, the two girls had listened to Zi Chen and displayed their strongest means. Of course, it was also because their opponent was not as strong as Zi Chen. The powerful impact forced Zi Chen to continuously retreat. During this period, the power that fell on the light shield was slowly weakening. This weakening was only relative. It did not mean that it was not scary. When the energy reached a controllable range, Zi Chen suddenly struck out with his staff. More than 2/3 of the patterns on the staff lit up. The original black color turned into a purple-gold color. The world suddenly lit up. A purple-gold staff shadow appeared and destroyed the violent energy in front of it. With a boom, the staff shadow sent Luo Kang flying. The energy in front of him dissipated. Zi Chen saw Luo Kang, Shan Ya, and Lan Jiumeng. He also saw the other two. However, the two of them were lying in a pool of blood. They were no longer breathing. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng were unharmed. In front of them, a sacred soul weapon had appeared. If it had not been for the sacred soul weapon, the two of them would have been at a disadvantage. The battle was over, but the two girls were still a little pale. They still had lingering fear. Luo Kang fell to the ground and spat out blood. He looked at Zi Chen with an ugly expression. Zi Chen walked slowly toward Luo Kang with a shield in his left hand and a staff in his right. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng also approached him. After experiencing the previous attack, the three of them would not be careless. At this moment, they would join forces to kill Luo Kang. "You're really lucky." Luo Kang snorted coldly. He stood up and a light appeared under his feet. In the next moment, his body was enveloped by the light and disappeared. He had used his strongest move and still could not kill Zi Chen. Luo Kang naturally had to leave. Otherwise, what awaited him would be death. Fang Wulian, who was about to reach the Sagely Mountain City, looked up and saw the scene in the city. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile. This time, his smile was full of mockery. Chapter 3880. The spectators in the Sagely Mountain City had yet to recover from their shock, even though Zi Chen had created another miracle. Not only had he received the recognition of the four mountains, but all of them had also reached the heaven rank. Apart from being unprecedented, it was likely that no one would be able to do so in the future. At that moment, everyone was shocked by the scene of Luo Kang's attack. Some people had calculated that the power that Luo Kang unleashed in that instant far exceeded the attack of the 100 soldiers' sword of clouds and rain. Zi Chen's shield was still intact, which was enough to prove that its ranking had increased. At the same time, many people felt that Zi Chen was too lucky. If he had hesitated for a moment, he would have died without a doubt. For a moment, the city was abuzz with discussion. On the third floor, the woman who had been standing in the same spot with lifeless eyes gradually regained her clarity after Luo Kang had escaped. In the next moment, her appearance also changed, becoming petite and cute. If Zi Chen was here, he would definitely recognize this woman. She was the service staff that he had seen at the Undrunk restaurant. However, for some reason, she had changed her appearance and was standing beside Luo Kang. She tried hard to recall what had happened before. Her pretty face changed little by little until she recalled everything. Then, her face turned pale again, and her eyes were filled with fear. If it wasn't for Zi Chen, she would have been finished. The image still did not disappear. Many people saw this scene and were all puzzled. Only a few people who recognized the woman's existence changed their expressions. Among them, an old man was so angry that his beard was blowing and his eyes were glaring. "That damned guy, how dare he have designs on the Undrunk restaurant? Investigate this Luo Kang and find out who he is. Also, bring him back here." Behind the old man, a black shadow disappeared into thin air. The terrified woman looked back at the passage behind her, and at the same time, felt extremely lucky. After a slight hesitation, she turned and entered the fourth floor. She was very relaxed, which showed that she had great potential. Upon entering the 4th floor, she saw Chen and the other two. The three of them also sensed something and immediately turned around. When they saw the woman, they were all very surprised. Who would have thought that the 4th person to come up would be a girl? The next moment, Chen recognized the other party. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng also recognized the other party, and a strange look appeared in their eyes. How could a service member of the Undrunk restaurant come to the 4th floor? However, the three of them did not pay too much attention to it. After nodding slightly at the other party, they continued to turn around and search for their own opportunities. In front of Chen, there were more than 10 balls of light floating in front of him. Each one of them recorded a spell. Looking at these holy spirit arts, he was dazzled and didn't know what to choose. On the other hand, Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng did not have to worry about it. Both of them only had one saint spirit technique each, so it was easy for them to choose. Chen stood in front of the light, hesitating. Judging from the surface, it was impossible to distinguish between good and bad. It seemed like he could only choose one at random. Furthermore, he didn't dare to use his soul force to casually investigate. What if it directly recognized him as its master? After coming here and walking such a long way, Chen certainly did not want to miss out on this opportunity. He stood there, hesitating and hesitating. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ya had already made their only choice. It was obvious that the two of them were very satisfied with their gains. You don't know what to choose. Lan Jiumeng walked in front of Chen and also looked at the light balls. However, she had already lost the right to choose. Chen nodded. These light balls were all the same size. At present, he could only judge them by their color. However, the colors were gold, black, and the color of flames. There was no unique feature at all. Shan Ya knew Chen's purpose, so when she came to Chen's side, she did the same as Lan Jiumeng. She did not give any opinion to Chen. The woman from the Undrunk restaurant looked back. She noticed that Chen was in a difficult position. After a slight hesitation, she decided to help him. Hey! The three of them immediately turned around and looked at the woman who spoke. If you don't know what to choose, try to use the cultivation method. Choose the one you want the most. The woman from the Undrunk restaurant suggested. Chen's eyes lit up. How could he forget this point? Chen smiled at her gratefully. When he turned to look at the light balls again, he had an idea in his mind. He took a deep breath and began to use the ghost-devouring soul technique. His pure soul power surged out. What Chen wanted the most right now was, of course, the second part of the ghost-devouring soul technique. Unfortunately, after the soul power surged out, the light balls in front of him did not change at all. Chen was stunned. He was unwilling to give up. He continued to try, but there was still no reaction. The expected thing happened. There was no follow-up to the cultivation method here. Chen's face was full of disappointment. Then, he shook his head. Looking at Chen's action, Shan Ya felt a little sad for him. However, deep in her heart, she was actually a little happy. This was very contradictory. Chen tried a few more times. The light balls in front of him still did not have any reaction. This made him completely disappointed. The second part of the ghost-devouring soul technique was indeed not here. However, which one should he choose now? Subconsciously, the power flowing on the surface of Chen's body changed. This time, it became the power of the tremor fighting technique. Just as this power appeared, the quiet light balls in front of him suddenly began to tremble. Not one, but all of them. This made Chen stunned. Even Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng were slightly stunned. They all sensed it. Could these techniques be of great use to Chen? The power of the tremor fighting technique flowed out unconsciously. After noticing the abnormal changes in front of him, Chen used the tremor fighting technique with all his strength, causing more tremor fighting power to appear on the surface of his body. The dozens of light balls in front of him began to tremble violently. They seemed to want to come to Chen's side, but there seemed to be a strange force in the dark, preventing them from moving forward. Just as Chen was wondering if he should choose one randomly, ripples suddenly appeared in the space in front of him. In the center of the ripples, a passage appeared. In the passage, there was a pitch-black light ball. When this light ball appeared, the surrounding light balls that had sensed it stopped trembling and returned to normal. Zichen had a strong feeling in his heart. The technique in the black light ball was of the same origin as the tremor fighting technique. In the next moment, he made a decision in his heart. This is it. When the elders in the Sagely Mountain city saw this scene, they were shocked. On the Holy Soul Mountain, Sheng Rao was so angry that he stomped his feet. Chapter 3881. According to Sheng Rao's plan, Sheng Lun was going to fight Zichen on the Saint Soul Mountain. After killing Zichen, he would take away the most powerful combat technique in front of everyone's eyes. Unexpectedly, the battle between the two broke out prematurely, and Sheng Lun, who had the 100 weapons cloud and rain sword, was defeated. The most powerful technique that should have belonged to Sheng Lun was also taken away by Zichen. All of his plans had come to naught. This time, he was defeated by Zichen. It could be said that his loss was extremely heavy. Looking at the dark ball of light that was flying towards Zichen, Sheng Rao wanted to rush forward and take it all away. This was because it was a technique that he had always wanted, but had never been able to obtain. Phew! Ou Li finally breathed a sigh of relief. His goal was accomplished, and he had no more regrets. Beside him, Wu Yud exclaimed, "Amazing, amazing." At this point, the test was over. The black ball of light entered Zichen's sea of consciousness, and a message emerged. The power of the Death God. The most powerful force in combat techniques, the power of the Death God. Now was not the time to meditate. After the ball of light entered his sea of consciousness, Zichen turned around. At this moment, the woman from the Undrunk Tower also made her choice. A passage appeared in front of them. Zichen looked at the woman and said, "Let's go together." The woman nodded, and the four of them stepped out of the passage one after another. This time, they did not come to the peak of the Saint Soul Mountain, but to an open space that looked like a square. There were only the four of them here. "Not bad, your performance is very good." A laugh came from the side. When the four of them turned their heads, they saw Sheng Rao. He was the person in charge of this test, and his face was full of smiles. The four of them cupped their fists and saluted. The necessary etiquette was still necessary. Especially you, Zichen. Not only did you get the recognition of the four mountains, but you also reached the peak of all four mountains. Your situation has never happened before, and I don't think it will happen again in the future. Sheng Rao came in front of Zichen, patted him on the shoulder, and said with an encouraging smile, "The Saint Soul Mountain needs an elder like you to protect it. Only then can it last for a long time. Senior, you flatter me." Zichen cupped his fists again and said politely, "Next, the Mountain Master will personally appear and give you the Elder's token. Just wait for a moment." The sacred radius came and went quickly. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The person who appeared in front of Zichen was the Mountain Lord of Saint Talisman Mountain. He was the only one here. The other three Mountain Lords were nowhere to be seen. At this time, the place where Zichen was standing seemed to have been isolated into a small space, and the others had disappeared. Amazing, truly amazing. The Mountain Lord of Saint Talisman looked at Zichen and sighed. Zichen scratched his head and said nothing. According to the rules of the sacred mountain, you must leave behind a drop of essence blood before you leave. The Hill Master said, during this period, you can choose to live on the sacred mountain or in the sacred mountain city. Zichen thought for a moment and said, "Let's go to Sagely Mountain City. I should be staying here for a few more days. Then you can go back first. Our people will contact you later." In this place, the Mountain Lord did not say much and left directly. After the Mountain Lord left, Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng appeared again. The two of them also met a person each, but like Zichen, they did not leave behind any essence blood. The three of them began to turn back. During this time, Zichen deliberately paid attention to the surroundings to see if he could meet any acquaintances. He did not find anyone until they returned to the inn. After asking the innkeeper, he was told that only the three of them had returned. The others had not returned yet. The next step was to wait. After a few hours, The few of them returned one after another. In this trial, the one who stayed the longest was Zi Chen. It took a long time to go to the 4 mountains one after another. Everyone returned safely, which was naturally a joyous occasion. Needless to say, Zi Chen's achievements were seen by everyone. Noah had entered the 3rd level of the Sacred Beast Mountain. Next, he needed to abide by the agreement of the Sacred Beast Mountain and stay in the Sacred Beast Mountain for 100 years to serve it. Lan Hongyi and Lan Rui also reached the 3rd level respectively. This was already an amazing potential. As for Pang Chang, although he did not gain anything in the Sacred Beast Mountain, he also made a lot of money by betting on Zi Chen this time. However, this reunion also meant that they would have to part soon. Noah only had 3 days, after which he would enter the Holy Mountain. Let's go to the undrunk restaurant. Today, we will not go back until we are drunk, Zi Chen suggested. Before entering, he also bet heavily on himself. Although it was not much, he still made a lot of money. The few of them left the inn and headed to the undrunk restaurant. The business of the undrunk restaurant was still booming. After Zi Chen and the others entered, everyone in the hall on the 1st floor cast their eyes on them. The previous discussions about Zi Chen had already stopped abruptly. Immediately, a service staff came to greet them. The current Zi Chen was really well known. Looking at the full 1st floor, Zi Chen asked worriedly, "Are there any seats left?" "Yes, please come with me." The smile on the service staff's face did not fade as he politely gestured for Zi Chen to enter the 2nd floor. "Hey, did you make a mistake? Didn't you say there were no seats when I asked earlier?" At this moment, a young man asked unhappily. "Sorry, Lord Zi Chen is our distinguished guest. His dining area is not on the 2nd floor, but on the 3rd. As soon as this was said, many diners who were familiar with the rules of the undrunk restaurant changed their expressions. The 3rd floor of the undrunk restaurant in the Sacred Beast Mountain City was not open to the public. Only the distinguished guests of the undrunk restaurant were qualified to enter the 3rd floor. Such distinguished guests must be people of high status. According to Zi Chen's current realm and achievements, he did not seem to be a distinguished guest. Zi Chen was not sure about this. Since there were seats, it was naturally a good thing. After going up to the 3rd floor, Zi Chen found that there was only one room. The room was very luxuriously decorated and was several levels higher than the 2nd floor. "Did you make a mistake?" Lan Rui knew that this place was unusual, so he asked. "Don't worry, sirs. This was specially instructed by the manager. There can't be a mistake." After saying that, the service staff left politely. "Order whatever you want to eat today. I'll pay for all the expenses." A familiar female voice came from behind. A petite and cute girl walked in from the door. "It's you." Zi Chen recognized her. It was the girl who had warned him before. He was a little surprised and hurriedly said, "Thank you for what you did before. I should be the one saying that. Thank you for saving me. Today's meal is my thanks to you." The girl came in front of Zi Chen and made a salute. "Jue thanks young master Zi Chen for saving me." Zi Chen was a little confused. Chapter 3882. Shizhou's sudden thanks made Zi Chen very puzzled. He looked at her and said, "Did you get the wrong person?" "Get the wrong person, my ass. She's already called out your name, how could I get it wrong?" Oyu Li walked in from outside. He first went to the inn, but he didn't see Zi Chen, so he came here. It wasn't difficult to find Zi Chen now. Along the way, many people were talking about seeing Zi Chen in person. "Little girl, I'll accept your thanks on behalf of Zi Chen. Serve the good wine and dishes." Oyu Li looked at Shizhou and said, "Okay." Shizhou nodded immediately, a smile on her face, and then went to arrange everything. After Shizhou left, Zi Chen looked at Oyu Li, waiting for him to explain. "You're also a pig. Can't you just say you're welcome?" Oyu Li scolded Zi Chen, then explained the reason for saving Zi Chen. Zi Chen's expression couldn't help but change. No wonder the woman with the dull eyes looked familiar. So that's why. In that case, that Luo Kang obviously had some ulterior motives for Shizhou. Then what about Shizhou's identity? Zi Chen's expression changed slightly as he looked at Oyu Li. Oyu Li nodded, indicating that he guessed right. Since Shizhou's identity wasn't low, why did she serve them food and wine last time? In the next moment, Zichen thought of something. Last time when they were drinking here, Oyu Li bragged that he was the young master of the Sacred Mountain Gambling House. At that time, he said that he was the young master of the Undrunk Restaurant. At that time, Oyu Li said that the Undrunk Restaurant didn't have a young master, only a young lady, and his answer at that time was offensive. Coincidentally, Shizhou was next to him at that time. Thinking of this small episode, Zichen's expression couldn't help but change, and his face turned slightly red. It seemed that she heard what he said. Fortunately, the others didn't pay attention to Zichen, but curiously looked at the decorations in the room. Since the Undrunk brothel had opened its doors to welcome guests, it naturally wouldn't refuse a guest, even if the guest was very annoying. After Fang Wulian was defeated, he came to the Undrunk brothel. Even though the manager hated him, he couldn't chase him out. Even if the restaurant was full, there would still be people who would take the initiative to give up their seats for him. After all, he was the second young master of the Fang clan. Even if he didn't have any strength and had a terrible reputation, he was still extremely wealthy, so everyone had to give him some face. Shan Kuei pushed open the door and happened to see Fang Wulian hugging two beautiful women. At this moment, the two of them took turns pouring wine into Fang Wulian's mouth. Fang Wulian smiled and said, "Although drunken immortal is good, drinking like this is boring. Come, use your mouth to feed young master." "Young master, you're so bad." The two women in his arms smiled shyly. Shan Kuei coughed softly and said in a low voice, "Young master, Zichen is back and he came to the Undrunk Inn. He sure knows how to enjoy himself." Fang Wulian snorted and said, "Let's go and meet him." He waved his hand and the two women stood up from his arms. Shan Kuei said, "But he's now on the 3rd floor. "The 3rd floor?" Fang Wulian was startled. "Where is he qualified to go?" Shan Kuei said, "I don't know, but he's indeed on the 3rd floor. Fang Wulian, who had just stood up, sat down again. "That place isn't for everyone. Forget it, I'll find him another day. Come, let's continue drinking." "Shan Kuei, you should also drink." Shan Kuei shook his head and said no, then turned and left. Although he was used to such a scene, he knew that he wasn't suitable for such an atmosphere. This time, it was still Xiao who personally brought the wine for Zichen. It was the superior undrunk immortal. Zichen knew the reason and didn't say anything more. After all, the other party was a girl and her reputation was very important. Under Oyu Li's invitation, Xiao sat down without hesitation. After seeing Oyu Li's signal, Zichen had to stand up and introduce these friends to Xiao one by one. After introducing Noah and Pang Chang, Xiao took the initiative to say, "Next, I know that he is Lan Rui, and this sister is Lan Hongyi. Sister Shan Ya, who was recognized by the two mountains and entered the 4th floor. Sister Lan Jiu Meng, who was recognized by the 3 mountains, and you, Zichen. This is the first time I've met you, so I'll drink first as a sign of respect." Xiao picked up a cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. Oyu Li said, "Good." Following that, the atmosphere became much more lively. In another room, Wu Yud was drinking tea with an old man. He came with young master Oyu Li, but he didn't go in. "Did you get anything out of the old man?" The room was filled with the fragrance of tea. Wu Yud put down the teacup. "What?" The old man looked up at Wu Yud. There was confusion in those turbid eyes. Wu Yud picked up the teacup again. Although he had been with Oyu Li these days and seemed to have nothing to do, he knew all the news. Luo Kang, who had appeared out of nowhere, almost overturned the situation of the Sacred Mountain Gambling House last time. This time, he had suddenly made a move and almost killed Zichen. Moreover, the other party could silently avoid the detection of the mirror spirit and capture the daughter of the undrunk brothel. Obviously, he wasn't an extraordinary person. However, after the other party came out, he seemed to have disappeared from the world. No matter how hard the Sacred Mountain Gambling House searched, they couldn't find him. Wu Yud guessed that the other party had been captured by this very benevolent-looking old man. The old man had captured Luo Kang to vent his anger, but the sacred mountain gambling house wanted to get some very important information from him. However, the old man in front of him was obviously unwilling to cooperate. After thinking for a while, Wu Yud put down the teacup again. He didn't want to talk in riddles, so he said, "We have a secret method. Maybe we can get something out of him." The old man said, "The other party came prepared. My men couldn't find him." Wu Yud's expression couldn't help but change. The sacred mountain gambling house couldn't be found, and the old man couldn't catch the other party either. It was obvious that Luo Kang was well prepared. And to be able to do this, it was enough to show that the other party had the shadow of the sacred mountain behind him. Only with the help of the sacred mountain could the other party disappear without a trace. The old man looked at Wu Yud's changing expression and said, "Your sacred mountain is really too chaotic." Wu Yud fell silent. For the next half of the day, he had been drinking tea and didn't say a word. The old man seemed to treat Wu Yud as if he didn't exist, occasionally teasing the spirit bird in the cage next to him. And in his mind, his previous conversation with little Ju appeared. "Girl, you have to try to take charge of things on your own." After such an uncontrollable thing had happened, the old man knew that he couldn't protect little Ju behind him forever. She needed to spread her wings, take charge of things on her own, and take over the entire Sai family. Zichen ate this meal to his heart's content. And he also made a friend in little Ju. After the group returned to the inn, Zichen saw the Shishan brothers. The two of them had been sitting on the first floor of the inn, obviously waiting for him for a long time. After seeing Zichen, the two brothers immediately stood up, looking very excited. Chapter 3883. Zichen shook his head and dispersed the smell of alcohol on his body. "Come with me." The others returned to their rooms. The Shishan brothers followed Zichen to his residence. The two brothers were very excited. They had made a lot of money betting on Zichen this time. Now that Zichen's fame was like the sun in the sky, everyone knew about him, while the two brothers had become famous in the gambling world. This had caused their status to rise. Even the incident of them gambling their lives to borrow blue crystal coins when they came to the Sagely Mountain City had become a legend. After entering the room, Shishan's brother immediately took out a glowing pouch. It was similar to a storage pouch. Inside it was half of their winnings. This was because Shishan's brother had said that they would split everything. "Please accept it, sir," Shishan's brother said respectfully. He was willing to give it. Zichen glanced at the pouch but did not take it immediately. Instead, he asked, "When do you plan to leave the Sagely Mountain City? We should stay for a few more days." Shishan's brother did not understand why Zichen would ask such a question, but he still answered after giving it some serious thought. Zichen continued, "What do you plan to do next? Do you still want to be a bandit?" The two brothers were a little embarrassed. Shishan's brother quickly shook his head and said, "No, we won't do that again." Zichen nodded and said, "In that case, why don't you do something for me?" "Sir, please tell us what you need," the two brothers said in unison. Zichen said, "From now on, you two will follow Pang Chang and protect him for 100 years. Protect Pang Chang for 100 years? The two brothers were stunned. This was too unexpected. They had thought that Zichen would arrange for them to do something big. They did not expect it to be such a small matter. Looking at the two brothers who were slightly stunned, Zichen asked, "Can you do it?" "Yes. Of course. Not to mention 100 years, even 500 years won't be a problem." Shishan's brother patted his chest and said. This time, it was all because of Zichen that they were able to turn their luck around. Moreover, the rewards they had obtained were enough for them to change their guns for cannons and redecorate themselves. A full set of good equipment could greatly increase everyone's combat strength. Brother Shishan also nodded, indicating that this was not a problem. "That's it then. You can take these things back," Zichen said, waving his hand. "Sir, this is our..." Before Brother Shishan could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Zichen. "Use them well. Follow Pang Chang, see more, learn more. I believe that you are not bad people. You don't lack resources now, so I hope you can do something useful." "All right, I'm going to rest." The two brothers looked at each other in dismay. Clearly, they did not expect this to happen. Zichen urged them again, and the two had no choice but to leave. They would remember this kindness in their hearts. That night, Zichen told Pang Chang about this matter. Naturally, Pang Chang had no objections. The combat strength of the two brothers was not weak. If they could really wholeheartedly do good, it would naturally be extremely good. The next day, Pang Chang and the Shan brothers left. Zichen did not see the three of them off. Clearly, he did not want them to attract too much attention. Before leaving, Zichen repeatedly reminded the three of them to be careful on the road. Another 2 days passed. Noah also had to leave for the sacred mountain. It was time to say goodbye. And this time, they did not know when they would meet again. Lan Hongyi, who was also about to leave, looked at Zichen and said, "Send me off." Zichen nodded and walked forward. The others tactfully stayed behind. Lan Rui did not need to go to the sacred mountain. Lan Hongyi did not need to go either. The elders of the Lan family had already informed the sacred mountain, but Lan Hongyi insisted on staying. After leaving the inn, the two walked along the road in silence. There was constant laughter all around. Along the way, many people pointed at Zichen and whispered when they saw him. "This time, I will stay in the sacred mountain for 100 years, Lan Hongyi broke the silence. "I will go north," Zichen said. "Is there no destination?" Lan Hongyi asked. Zichen shook his head and sighed, "I will send Little Mute to the place, or I will find what I want. Apart from these two things, I should not stop." "Then after 100 years, won't you have come a long way?" Lan Hongyi looked to the north. The world was so big that she could not see the end. Maybe. In fact, it was also possible that he would leave, because Zichen felt that he had stayed in this world for too long. What followed was silence until the two reached the city gate. "Let's go. I wish you a safe journey." Walking out of the city, Lan Hongyi walked forward freely, waving at Zichen without looking back. "Goodbye." Zichen waved goodbye. But after a few steps, Lan Hongyi suddenly turned around and ran towards Zichen. Zichen's hand was still hanging in the air when his body was embraced by Lan Hongyi. A touch of warmth and softness came. Zichen was stunned on the spot as if he was electrocuted. About 3 breaths later, he slowly put down his hand and prepared to give Lan Hongyi a hug. But at this moment, Lan Hongyi had already broken free from Zichen's embrace. She looked at Zichen and mocked, "What? You want to take advantage of me? Dream on." Zichen stood there awkwardly. "So what if you create a miracle and gain the recognition of the 4 mountains? So what if you leave your name in history? I still don't like you." Lan Hongyi turned and left without looking back. "If you want to woo me, wait another 100 years. This time, Lan Hongyi did not look back. After walking more than 100 feet, her eyes turned red and tears fell from the corners of her eyes. Zichen stood there and stared at Lan Hongyi's back until her slender figure disappeared from his field of vision. He turned and went back, feeling a little emotional. After returning to the inn, Lan Rui told them that he was leaving and gestured for the 3 to take care. Since the last time he left the Lan family, this was the furthest Lan Rui, the future heir, could go. As the future heir of the Lan family, Lan Rui had his own mission. It was impossible for him to accompany Zichen around the world. The group of people sent Lan Rui out of the inn. Lan Rui waved goodbye to everyone. "Zichen, I'll be counting on you from now on." Zichen nodded and understood what Lan Rui meant. His friends left one after another. Even Zichen was a little depressed at this moment. "It seems that you're in a bad mood. Do you want me to treat you to a meal?" A voice came from the side. It was Xiaoa, the daughter of the Undrunk restaurant. When she arrived, she saw Lan Rui leaving, so she waved at him. "Why are you here?" Zichen looked back at her. "I'm here to chat with a few sisters. It seems that I came at a bad time. I should have come earlier." Xiaoa said, "If you're sad, I can treat you to a drink." "What's the point of drinking with you?" Chapter 3884. The voice was discordant and ear-piercing. Zichen did not even need to turn around to know who it was. Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ya, who were already in a bad mood, immediately stared coldly at the newcomer. The newcomer was Fang Wulian. His defensive robe was destroyed by Zi Chen last time. He suffered a great loss and became the laughingstock of the world once again. Fang Wumian, just like his name. Shan Kuei followed beside him. He, who was originally behind them, felt the murderous intent from the two girls and immediately walked to the front. Fang Wulian waved his hand, indicating that Shan Kuei should not be bothered. "Who are you?" Shijiao stared at Fang Wulian with an unfriendly gaze. "Second young master of the Fang family." Fang Wulian laughed and raised his head proudly. "You're that faceless?" Shijiao was very surprised. She did not expect to see this second-generation heir with her own eyes. However, she quickly reacted and retreated with a look of disgust. It was as if the other party was something bad and would affect her if he got too close. "Little beauty, you don't have to be so close to me. You're not my wife." Fang Wulian chuckled and looked at Shijiao from head to toe. "But you have a good figure. I'm still lacking a girl to warm my bed. I wonder if you're interested." "Bah, why don't you go and die? When was I close to you? I said that you have no face." "Fang Wumian," Shijiao said with a look of disgust. "Little beauty, if you're willing to warm my bed, I don't care about my face. How about it? Think about it. Who knows, I might even reward you with a magic robe if I'm happy," Fang Wulian said with a smile. "Bah, I'm not interested," Shijiao said with disdain. However, her face was red with anger. Seeing that Fang Wulian was about to say something, Lan Jiumeng said coldly, "Either get lost or die. Choose one." During this time, Zi Chen kept looking at Fang Wulian. He already knew the other party's name. Lan Rui had told him about the other party's background. At that time, Lan Rui had hinted to Zi Chen to be careful of Fang Wulian's revenge. This was also the first time Zi Chen learned about the forces outside the sacred mountain. He learned about the Fang clan's custom-made armor and unique magic spirit robes. "What's the matter?" Zi Chen finally spoke. "I'm here to discuss a big business deal with you. Are you interested?" Fang Wulian said with a smile. "Not interested." Zi Chen refused directly. Shijiao snorted proudly. "Forget it if you're not interested." Fang Wulian was a little disappointed. He continued, "I happen to have time today. Why don't you treat me to a meal? Are we going to the undrunk brothel?" Shijiao sneered. "You're just a rich second generation, and you want Zi Chen to treat you to a meal? Even if you do, he won't go." Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye looked at Fang Wulian as if they were looking at an idiot. Unexpectedly, Zi Chen did not immediately refuse. Instead, he thought for a while and said, "Okay." Hearing this word, the three women seemed to have an auditory hallucination. They turned their heads and looked at Zi Chen in surprise. Especially his eyes. They all wanted to see if Zi Chen was under the other party's illusion. Zi Chen's eyes were clear. Naturally, it was impossible for him to be under any illusion. At the same level, no one could affect Zi Chen's soul. Fang Wulian laughed and said, "There's no time like the present. How about now? Beauties, come with me." The three women still looked at Zi Chen. They felt extremely incredulous. Why did Zi Chen think so highly of this shameless guy? "I can go alone." Looking at the expressions of the three people, it was obvious that they were not willing to deal with Fang Wulian, so Zi Chen gave up the invitation. "Three beauties, goodbye then." Fang Wulian waved at the three people with a look that was asking for a beating. Shan Kuei signaled his young master to leave quickly. These three women's tempers were not so good. They might really fight. Seeing Zi Chen leave, Jue said angrily, "I didn't expect Zi Chen to be such a person. Come, let's go and eat." So, the three women walked towards the undrunk restaurant at the same time, but they kept a distance from Zi Chen and the others. It was still early, so there were not many guests in the undrunk restaurant. The three went to the second floor together and asked for a private room. After ordering a few dishes, the atmosphere became silent again. "I really have a big deal to cooperate with you," Fang Wulian said. "Not interested." Zi Chen said lightly. "Actually, you should hear it." Fang Wulian said unwillingly, "As long as it's done, I will tailor a set of armor for you." Its defensive strength will be stronger than Shan Kuei's last time. After learning about Fang Wulian from Lan Rui, Zichen also knew about the strength of the Fang family. It was a power that could be compared to the Yi Shan, and its depth was even stronger than the Lan family. Although the two powers were not in the same area, they would still cooperate with each other. Among them, many of the Lan family's armors were from the Fang family. As for the magic spiritual robes, although there were a few, their grades were very low. The Fang family had a rule that high-grade magic spiritual robes were never given to outsiders. Zichen shook his head and said, "Not interested." At this time, a woman walked in and took 3 jars of undrunk immortal. Before she left, she looked at Zichen with a strange gaze. Obviously, she was also very surprised. Why would the famous Zichen be with the infamous Fang Wumian? Fang Wulian took the initiative to help Zichen open the seal. He seemed very attentive. "Just treat it as doing me a favor. It's like this. In order to show the fairness of their search for a successor, my family has decided to open a trial. They have placed the Fang family's top refining skills in the ancestral land. Whoever obtains it will be the future successor." Zichen took the wine jar and said bluntly, "What does this have to do with me? I didn't say the second half." Fang Wulian continued, "Because the ancestral land is full of danger, it's very dangerous for a person to enter alone. Therefore, the family allows for external help. Zichen, if you can help me become the successor, I will tailor a set of armor for you for free. Together with your combat skills, it can increase your combat strength by several times or even 10 times. I don't have that ability. Go find someone else." At this time, another person came in with a few exquisite dishes. The conversation between the two temporarily stopped. After the other party left, Fang Wulian immediately said, "Don't, you have to help me. How about this? I will give you a magic spiritual robe after it's done. How about a high-grade magic spiritual robe that is not given to outsiders?" Zichen shook his head again and said, "I really don't have that ability. Go find someone else." Fang Wulian smiled bitterly and said, "I want to find someone, but there needs to be someone suitable. Originally, Sheng Lun and Yu Yi were the people I was looking for. But you crippled them, so I can only find you." "Crippled?" Zichen looked at Fang Wulian. "He didn't cripple them, he killed them." Chapter 3885. Still alive. "Are you sure?" Zichen's expression changed. He did not hold back at that time, so he was sure that the two of them were dead. With the existence of the mirror spirit, as long as their family takes care of them, they usually won't die in the sacred mountain trials. This has become common knowledge. Of course, most people would never know about this. Fang Wulian pointed at himself and said, "Take me for example. I didn't participate in the first and second trials, but didn't I still go to the sacred soul mountain?" Zichen was very surprised that the two of them were still alive. At the same time, he had a new impression of Saint. There were rules everywhere, but there were exceptions everywhere. "You've helped me this time. After this, I'll definitely give you a high-grade magic spirit robe," Fang Wulian said again. Even though she had eliminated a lot of food and felt much better, Xiao was still in a bad mood when she returned to the undrunk restaurant after bidding farewell to her 2 sisters. She went straight to the old man's place and pushed the door open. When she saw the old man drinking tea and playing with his bird, she was even angrier. "You've got the wrong person," she said directly, her tone very unpleasant. The old man looked up at Xiao and asked with a smile, "Oh, who did I get the wrong person?" "Zichen. He's not as good as you think. He's no different from other people. He's a very vulgar person." Xiao pouted and said angrily, "Tell me about it." The old man was clearly interested. Today, Fang Wumian went to look for him. After knowing that he was the second young master of the Fang family, his expression immediately changed. When Fang Wumian asked for a meal, he was very willing to treat him to a meal. Xiao said angrily, in order to curry favor with a second generation like Fang Wumian, he didn't even have the necessary dignity. "Tell me, what's the point of roping in such a person?" "Really?" The old man was surprised. "What else?" Even Lan Jiu Meng and sister Shan Ye can't stand Zichen's behavior. Xiao said, so, you've got the wrong person this time. The old man did not refute Xiao. Instead, he nodded and said, perhaps this time, I've really made a mistake. Xiao snorted in dissatisfaction. The old man continued, however, he didn't misjudge Zichen. He misjudged the second young master of the Fang family. This second generation with an extremely bad reputation might not be as bad as the rumors say. Have you gone senile? How can you say something like that? Shijiao said, didn't you say yesterday that you really wanted to slap to death that second generation who was running amok in the undrunk restaurant? The old man shook his head and said, do you know who Zichen met before he met Luo Kang? That spoiled brat. This news has already spread. He recklessly went to provoke Zichen and directly lost a set of battle armor and a magic robe. This matter was discussed every day in the Sagely Mountain City. At the same time, it was one of the ironclad evidence of Fang Wulian's absurd actions. Many people who had only heard of his name but had never seen him in person could not help but praise him after seeing this scene. The rumors were indeed accurate. The old man recalled the scene and said, at that time, Zichen had already defeated Sheng Lun and had 200 weapons on him. When he first met Fang Wulian, he did not put him in his eyes. When Shan Kuei made his move, Zichen had only displayed his full strength bit by bit. When Fang Wulian made his move, he had used his full strength. At that time, the defeated Fang Wulian not only did not feel afraid, but also continued to provoke Zichen who had just spared his life. But guess what happened? Shijiao shook her head, indicating that she did not know. At that time, she was under Luo Kang's control. Zichen ignored his provocation and went directly to the third floor. However, he met Luo Kang there. At the moment Luo Kang attacked, Zichen used his full strength. The old man said, in other words, when Luo Kang was about to attack, Zichen had already used his full strength. It was also because of this that he was able to block Luo Kang's powerful and murderous attack and save his life. The old man also remembered what Fang Wulian had said to Zichen. At first, he thought it was a provocation, but looking at it in reverse, wasn't it also a warning? In other words, Fang Wulian's appearance was to warn Zichen to be careful. He even did not hesitate to lose his magic robe. And Zichen obviously understood, so he avoided the disaster on the third floor. If this was really the case, then it made sense that Zichen had taken the initiative to treat them today. After all, Fang Wulian had indirectly saved his life. But how could an extremely unbearable spoiled brat in the rumors have such wisdom? Fang Wulian left the undrunk restaurant and walked toward the inn where he lived. Shan Kuei followed behind Fang Wulian and was always one step behind him. Listening to the conversation between the young master and Zichen, he had a lot of doubts in his heart. Back at the inn, Shan Kuei watched as his young master greeted the girls and pinched them left and right. When they returned to their room, Shan Kuei finally couldn't help but ask, since you've decided, why don't everyone walk together? Fang Wulian leaned back on the recliner and stretched comfortably. He glanced at Shan Kuei. He would not have any doubts about this loyal guard. This time, it's a matter of great importance. We absolutely can't pin our hopes on one person. Moreover, Zichen's current troubles are not smaller than ours. If we go all the way, maybe someone will kill us as well. This time, going alone can be considered a test for him. If he can't reach Fanglin City alive, what qualifications and strength does he have to lead me to snatch the identity of the successor? Then when do we leave? Shan Kuei asked again. Let's wait first. Find me a few more powerful existences. I'll go see them and try to win them over. I've missed too many opportunities. This is my last chance. I can't miss it. Zichen returned to the inn. This time, he agreed to help Fang Wulian. In addition to the attractive rewards, Zichen also wanted to return the favor. If he had been careless last time, he would have died long ago. Maybe Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Ye would not have survived. This was a favor, and he had to return it. Walking into the Lan family's inn, the innkeeper told Zichen that someone was looking for him. Zichen found that the innkeeper's face had a difficult expression. "Who's looking for me?" Zichen asked, puzzled. "People from the Holy Mountain, but they've already gone to your residence." The innkeeper said embarrassedly, "We tried to stop them, but we couldn't." Now that he thought about that person, the innkeeper still couldn't remember what he looked like. He clearly remembered that person. Zichen waved his hand. Obviously, he didn't care. He always kept his valuable things with him. Opening the door, Zichen saw an old man sitting next to him. It was the mountain lord of the Holy Talisman Mountain. Zichen was very surprised and hurriedly bowed. Chapter 3886. The old man's arrival surprised Zichen, but it was within reason because he had obtained many benefits on the sacred mountain. It was time for him to fulfill his responsibilities. Zichen was already prepared, but who knew that the old man would speak at this time? "Where did your unpredictability come from?" "Unpredictability?" Zichen was startled. "An elder bestowed it upon me." The old man's expression changed. He asked again, "What elder?" Zichen told the old man how he had obtained the unpredictability. After learning all this, the old man's face was clearly dejected. "Did something happen?" Zichen asked. The old man shook his head. "No, but we all want to know how the previous mountain lord left this world. Because we were all trapped in this world and couldn't find a way out for many years." It was a short sentence, but it contained an extremely important message. Zichen had guessed that the missing hall master had come to this world before, but he did not expect him to be the mountain master of the Saint Talisman Mountain. The other news was even more shocking. The descenders who came here couldn't return. This world only has an entrance and no exit. Or rather, we haven't found where the exit is for the time being. The old man said, "We couldn't find it for a long time until I saw your unpredictability. Only then was I certain that the temple lord had left." Zichen's expression began to change. He didn't expect that the descenders of this world would face such a situation. As for whether they will leave this world after death and return to their original world, no one knows. The old man asked Zichen if he had any other clues. Zichen knew nothing other than the unpredictability. "The entrance was opened because of you, so maybe you have a way to leave." The old man said, "The previous mountain lord didn't leave his essence blood on the sacred mountain. Originally, with my authority, I could make an exception. But this time, you climbed the 4 mountains and reached the peak one by one. You must have obtained many opportunities, so the difficulty is extremely high. However, you have other sage opportunities. If you are willing, you can take them out as compensation." Zichen didn't immediately reply. Instead, he asked, "Is this very important?" The old man said, "I don't know either. Maybe the chances of leaving this way will be higher. All right then, I'll use this opportunity to enter the Saint Realm in exchange for not leaving behind any blood essence." Zichen nodded. The opportunity that Ou Li had given him was gone, but he had gained his freedom. This was actually a good thing for Zichen, because he had gained a lot of benefits from this trip to the sacred mountain. If he went to the sage domain to take the opportunity again, he might incur the wrath of the crowd. Zichen was actually very happy to use this opportunity to exchange for his freedom. It was just that Ou Li felt a little apologetic. "What plans do you have for the future?" the mountain chieftain asked Zichen. "I'll go north," Zichen said. "It's a good place for you to train." The mountain master smiled. Zichen asked, "May I ask, mountain chieftain, what exactly is there in the north?" The mountain master smiled and said, "There are opportunities, dangers, and heavenly souls." Zichen was a little confused. "In this world, more than 90% of heavenly souls are in the north," the mountain master said. The mountain master said, "I don't know when it started, but there was a rule in this world that all heavenly souls have to go to the north." There was a look of yearning in the old man's eyes. "But I'm not sure what's there in the north. Could the passage to leave be in the north?" Zichen asked. "You'll have to go and take a look. Once you find the passage, remember to come back and inform us." Zichen nodded. "The road ahead is full of danger. Be careful. Take these 3 holy talismans. In times of danger, You can use them to save your life." The old man took out the 3 holy talismans. The talismans were dim, and all their power was restrained. Even Zichen couldn't sense the strength of the talismans. However, the talismans given by the mountain chieftain were definitely not ordinary talismans. Zichen thanked him and took them with both hands. He walked the old man out of the room. The old man rejected Zichen's good intentions to walk him out. Obviously, he didn't want others to know that he had come here personally. Back in the room, Zichen began to think about the next arrangements. There was a knock on the door. Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye were outside. After the 2 of them came in, Zichen said, "You came at the right time. We have to leave." "Where to?" Lan Jiumeng asked. "We'll go to Fanglin City first," Zichen said. Fanglin City? The Fang family's power? When the 2 of them were eating with Shijiao, she told them everything about the Fang family. Fanglin City was the Fang family's headquarters, so it was naturally the most important. Zichen nodded and said, "I promised Fang Wulian something. We have to go there first to complete it." Shania said, "In that case, Fang Wulian's appearance back then was intentional." They had followed Zichen for a long time. Of course, they believed in Zichen's character. There was naturally a reason why he looked at Fang Wulian differently for no reason. But in front of Shijiao, the 2 of them did not say anything. His reminder saved me, and the price he paid was not small. If it's converted into a favor, it is indeed not small. Zichen said, "So this time, I can't refuse his request." The 2 of them also nodded, indicating that they understood. Shan Ye said again, "Fang Wulian's reputation has always been bad, but he is so scheming and shrewd. Obviously, he is extremely tolerant, and his goal is definitely not small. It's better to be careful when working with such a person." Zichen also considered this point, but he seemed to have vaguely guessed the reason why Fang Wulian was tolerant. Sheng Lun and Yu Yi are still alive, and this time, they have suffered a great loss. Naturally, they will not give up, so when we leave this time, we must be careful. Zichen did not leave immediately. Instead, he stayed in the inn for 2 more days. During these 2 days, Shijiao came every day. Of course, she did not come to find Zichen. On the 3rd day, Zichen's carriage left the Sagely Mountain City. 2 hours later, the 2nd carriage also left. 6 hours later, the 3rd carriage also left. All 3 carriages had coachmen. These were the 3 carriages that Zichen had come in. The city was still bustling with noise and excitement. No one knew that the protagonist of their conversation had quietly left. However, there were many forces in the Sagely Mountain City that had been paying close attention to Zichen. After each carriage left, some people would silently follow the carriage out of the city and then follow in the direction that the carriage had gone. Chapter 3887. Although Lan Rui had left the Sagely Mountain City in advance, Zichen still had the authority to use the Lan family's intelligence channels in the city. Therefore, he was very clear about how many people had followed the 3 carriages when they left one after the other. At this moment, Zichen hadn't left yet. He was staying in the undrunk brothel. The reason he was staying here was because Lan Jiumeng and Shan Ye had said goodbye to Xiao. Worried that the 2 would encounter trouble and danger on the road, Xiao had suggested that they follow the undrunk brothel's caravan. The road ahead was bound to be dangerous, so Zichen didn't have the idea of being a man and immediately agreed. Zichen's expression became unsightly when he saw the Lan family's message. He originally thought that since he had offended Yu Yi and Sheng Lun, these 2 factions wouldn't let him go. He didn't expect that there would be so many factions targeting him. The new ranking of the Saint Weapon Mountain's 100 weapon ranking hasn't been announced yet. It should be related to the 3 of you. According to the information we've received, the 4 Saint Soul weapons on your bodies have caused a huge commotion. Your ranking won't be low. With such treasures on your bodies, there will naturally be many people targeting you. This was what Xiao had said. She had already contacted the caravan and would set off tomorrow morning. Zichen, who was reading the report, silently read the description and didn't give any response. From Xiao's point of view, it was as if he was ignoring her. She snorted and said, "I know that you descenders are all adept at scheming and scheming. In order to prove that I don't have any bad intentions, I will join the caravan with you this time. Zichen's gaze finally moved away from the report. He looked at Xiao and asked doubtfully, "You're coming too? What else?" Xiao mocked, "If I don't follow you, how can I guarantee that you won't kill our undrunk brothels people along the way and then hide your whereabouts and disappear?" Zichen naturally didn't care about Xiao's words. She could help them at this time, which was absolutely timely. Ou Li had also said that the undrunk brothels people were trustworthy. However, what puzzled him the most was that Xiao, the only successor of the unintoxicated tower, would actually follow him. Then, why would the higher-ups of the unintoxicated tower agree? Other than opening a restaurant to sell drunken immortals, Undrunk Restaurant's power was outside of the sacred mountain. Perhaps their foundation was slightly weaker than the Fang clan, but their reputation was not weak at all. It was said that a huge accident had happened in the early years of the Undrunk brothel, so Shijio was the only heir left. She was definitely a treasure in the Undrunk brothel, and was never shown to the public. This trip to the Holy Mountain was also Xiao's first time going out to train. She never thought that she would be targeted by someone with ulterior motives. Why did he dare to let Shijio go out this time? Furthermore, he was following them. One had to know that the reason Zichen trusted the No Drunken Tower was because of Ou Li's words and Old Tang's opinion. But why would Bu Zui Lu believe them? Seeing that Zichen was in a daze and didn't say anything, Xiao said again, "What? Did I hit the nail on the head?" Zichen came back to his senses and said, "If I say thank you at this time, will you stop following us?" "Follow? You said follow you?" Xiao said angrily, "Zichen, you have to understand that I'm protecting you. I'm willing to lower myself to protect you. It's fine if you're not grateful, but you're actually looking down on me, right?" "No, absolutely not." Zichen shook his head. Of course, he couldn't admit to this kind of thing. This little girl was too much of a troublemaker. Zichen cast a glance to the side. Shan Yue smiled and walked closer. She pulled Xiao's hand and said, "Sister Xiao, do you really want to go with us?" Xiao nodded and said, "Sister, you're not happy?" "Of course I'm happy," Shan Yue said with a smile. She seemed to be really happy. Xiao glanced at Lan Jiumeng again, and the other party also smiled and nodded. Xiao smiled sweetly and let go of Zichen. Zichen felt a headache. It seemed that this was true. But how could he be at ease with such a young lady on the road? Just as Zichen was staying in Undrunk Tavern, the forces outside the sacred mountain were already surging with undercurrents. After more than half a day, the 3 carriages were ambushed one after another. The people who attacked came quickly and retreated even faster. Naturally, they gained nothing. On the same day, Ou Li concealed his identity and changed his appearance to find a caravan to discuss a business deal. After staying in Undrunk Tavern for a day, Zichen and the other 3, who had also changed their appearances, came to the back door of Undrunk Tavern. After helping the caravan there unload some things, they left with the caravan. The old steward of Undrunk Tavern stood on the top floor and watched the caravan leave. He was still unwilling to look away until everyone's figures had disappeared. "Is this the right thing to do?" The old man sighed. "This is the only way for now." Behind the old man, a man in black said, but there was a hint of helplessness in his voice. "I hope everything is as Daoist Chen predicted." Zichen didn't rely on magic to change his appearance, but a small pendant on his waist. Shan Yue, Lan Jiumeng, and Zhuo wore jewelry that could change their appearance. The 4 of them became ordinary and followed the caravan forward. This was a private caravan of Undrunk Tavern. They went back and forth between Undrunk Taverns to provide materials. One of the most common things was Undrunk Immortal. Whether it was the sacred mountain city or other cities, there was no way to brew Undrunk Immortal. All the Undrunk Immortal sold had to be transported through the cities controlled by Undrunk Tavern. The leader of the caravan was a strong man. It was said that he was an old man in Undrunk Tavern and was deeply trusted. He didn't speak much along the way. Because he had to bring Zichen and the other 3 with him, the others in the caravan didn't know each other before. It was a team that was put together at the last minute. Asterisk 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 on the peak of the Sacred Soul Mountain, a bird landed in front of Sacred Ray. After reading the contents of the bird, his eyes instantly turned cold. Do you think you can escape by hiding in the caravan? Sacred Ray got up and walked down the Sacred Soul Mountain. He left with a murderous intent. At the same time, on the other sacred mountains, there were also people leaving one after another. These people's target was Zi Chen. As the person involved, Zi Chen didn't know how many people were coming this time. He still stayed in the caravan. They didn't encounter any danger on the way. After 3 days, the ordinary-looking Zi Chen slowly became familiar with the people in the caravan. After 3 days, the caravan arrived at a plain area. It was said that they would have to walk on this road for another month. There were still 3 months before Zi Chen's destination, Fanglin City. Chapter 3888. Saint Rao stood on the plain. Not only did he not intend to hide his whereabouts, but he also deliberately released his own aura. This was to intimidate. Who dared to approach the sacred mountain? Behind him stood Sheng Lun, who had been defeated by Zi Chen last time. He should have died, but because of the mirror spirit, he paid a price and was still alive. Behind Sheng Lun, there were more than 10 people, all of whom were filled with murderous intent. Saint Rao was the one who taught Sheng Lun's fighting skills. Last time, he had taken the initiative to appear and enthusiastically meet Zi Chen. Of course, it was deliberate. He had left an indelible mark on Zi Chen's body. That was why he was unmoved when the 3 carriages left one after another yesterday. A caravan appeared in front of them. There were quite a few people, more than 100. Looking at the caravan, Saint Rao said indifferently, "Leave no one alive." Sheng Lun nodded. After coming back from the dead, he naturally became a member of the sacred mountain. At this moment, he was also a member of the sacred mountain. Just as he was about to step forward, he was surprised to find that the flag of the caravan belonged to the sacred mountain. Furthermore, it was the Sacred Soul Mountain. They were definitely on the same side. Saint Rao obviously also noticed this and was slightly taken aback. "Is there a mistake?" Sheng Lun asked. However, Saint Rao's eyes quickly became cold. "Humph, do you think you can fool me with such petty tricks? Do you think I will let you go just because you borrowed the name of the Sacred Soul Mountain? Kill them all." Sheng Lun also understood Saint Rao's meaning. He waved his hand and said, "Follow me." He led the people behind him and charged forward. The leader of the caravan in front saw people coming from afar and immediately shouted, "Be alert." When those people approached, he was slightly stunned and shouted, "Lord Sheng Lun, why are you here?" Sheng Lun's eyes were filled with murderous intent as he attacked mercilessly. Looking at the earth-shattering power in front of him, the leader shouted, "Lord, we are on the same side. We are on the same side." Energy surged and drowned the leader. Saint Yuan stood at the back, his expression extremely cold. He didn't care about the beings from the Saint Soul Mountain at all, even if he knew that some of them might be his own people. But since he dared to help Zi Chen escape, it was a betrayal and a death wish. However, as the number of people decreased one by one, his expression changed little by little. It seemed that no one in the team could fight. Until the last person died, there was no effective obstruction. Sheng Lun, who was already filled with murderous intent, looked at the sealed carriages and sneered, "You're really good at enduring. You didn't even come out." After saying that, he waved his hand again. Powerful energy surged as it whizzed forward. In an instant, it shattered those sealed carriages, causing numerous goods to scatter out from within. Sheng Lun couldn't help but be stunned. There wasn't a single person here. Saint Radiance, who had been watching from the back, also noticed the abnormality and immediately flew up. He didn't see Zi Chen, but he saw a mark in a pile of goods. He had left it on Zi Chen's body. It was impossible to discover, but someone had used a special method to extract it. In an instant, his face turned pale. He had been tricked. He had killed his own people. Sheng Lun and the others also guessed the result from Saint Radiance's face. For a moment, they were all stunned. "Who is it? Who is it?" Saint Radiance roared, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Dong. Suddenly, a loud sound rang out, and the ground began to shake. Dong. Dong. The ground continued to shake as if a giant was walking. Saint Radiance immediately turned around, staring in the direction of the sound. A person appeared on the horizon. There was only one person. The moment he saw that person, Saint Radiance's eyes seemed to spurt fire. "Damn it, it's you." The middle-aged man walked over and said indifferently, "It's been so many years, but your tricks haven't changed. It's time for you to improve. I let you run away in the past, but I didn't expect you to have the guts to come back. Since you've delivered yourself to my doorstep, don't blame me for being impolite." Saint Radiance said coldly. His murderous intent began to surge. "The Saint battle technique has already failed once. Where do you get the confidence to kill me?" The newcomer stepped forward and stood 10 feet away from Saint Radiance. After hearing the words Saint battle technique, Sheng Lun's expression changed. He guessed the newcomer's identity. "Humph, that's just Zi Chen's luck. You lost to me in the past, and now you're still no match for me." Saint Radiance stared at Ou Li in front of him and said indifferently, "Kill him for me." Immediately, someone rushed toward Ou Li. Obviously, Saint Radiance didn't seem to be very confident. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sent his subordinates to test him. A light appeared in front of Ou Li and turned into a blade. The blade flashed with cold light and was extremely sharp. The blade moved forward. An arc of light streaked across the sky, and the newcomer was cut in two. He didn't hold back because he was here to kill. Today was the day to settle the grudges from many years ago. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In these 3 days, Zi Chen was able to name most of the people in this team. Among them, a swordsman called Hu Meng had left a deep impression on Zi Chen. Although Hu Meng was a guard, he was very talkative. Every day when they were on the road, he spent most of his time chatting with others. He had a lively personality, but he was also a good fighter. He carried a blade that had never been unsheathed on his back. He considered himself a swordsman. It was said that he was the second strongest in the team. Besides the leader, Guo Dao, he was the strongest. Just yesterday, he took in a new follower who admired him very much. That young man followed beside the swordsman and was at his beck and call. A thunder-like explosion suddenly came from the horizon, followed by a gust of wind and waves. In this gust of wind, there was a strong fluctuation of soul power. At the front, Guo Dao immediately raised his hand and signaled the team to stop. Sitting on the back of the exotic beast, Hu Meng narrowed his eyes and looked ahead. Someone is fighting, and it's not small. Could it be that a caravan has encountered bandits? The follower beside Hu Meng immediately said, "Even if there are bandits, there is no need to be afraid. With Big Brother Hu Meng around, all enemies can be dealt with one strike." Hu Meng looked around and said proudly, "That is natural. The saber on my back has been thirsty for a long time. If you are blind, come at me." The energy in front was still trembling, indicating that the battle had not ended. Guo Dao said, "Wait here for a moment." When Zi Chen sensed this energy fluctuation, his expression changed slightly. This was because there was an aura that he was familiar with. "Leader, this is not too good, right? If there are bandits attacking the caravan, we can go over now and take care of them. It is better than being attacked one by one, right?" At this moment, Hu Meng gave a different opinion. "Don't be careless. Let's wait here first and observe the situation," Guo Dao said again. Just at this moment, the trembling in front suddenly stopped. The battle should have ended. After some hesitation, Guo Dao signaled for everyone to continue on their way. Even though they purposely slowed down, they still saw the battlefield as they moved forward. Corpses littered the battlefield. Blood flowed, and a person stood with a saber. Chapter 3889. Seeing the corpses all over the ground, everyone's expression changed. When they looked at the person standing with the saber again, they all kept quiet out of fear. "It's someone from the sacred mountain." He even dared to kill someone from the sacred mountain. A tattered flag was waving there. The symbol of the sacred mountain was very conspicuous. The group did not dare to move forward. "Good Lord, This is a ruthless person. Luo Meng lowered his head slightly, then held onto the long saber behind him, trying not to be too conspicuous. If it were not for the subordinates beside him, he might have jumped down immediately. That was because that was a real saber wielder. The other party dared to touch someone from the sacred mountain. How could he be an ordinary person? They might even lose their lives. At this moment, he kept cursing Guodao in his heart. How good would it be if the group walked a little slower? Why did they have to walk so fast? Were they in a hurry to die? Zi Chen saw the person clearly, and his expression changed. Even if he tried to restrain himself, he still could not suppress the fluctuation of his emotions. That was because that saber wielder was Ou Li. Among the dead were Sheng Lun and Sheng Luo, who had schemed against him. Lan Jiyu Meng, Shan Ya, and Juer's expressions also changed. Of course, they also knew Ou Li. They were very surprised to see Ou Li covered in blood. Fortunately, the others were also the same, so no one paid attention to them. Ou Li turned around and his gaze swept across everyone. At this moment, his body was covered in wounds, and he looked very miserable. But compared to those who were dead, he was naturally the one who was victorious. In the end, his gaze fell on Zi Chen. There was no exchange of words, only a meeting of eyes. Zi Chen understood Ou Li's meaning. This is my last journey to protect you. You will have to rely on yourself for the rest of the journey. Zi Chen did not nod. He appreciated Ou Li's kindness. Go quickly, Guodao's voice sounded at this moment. After sensing that the saber wielder did not have any killing intent, he did not dare to stay any longer. The group began to take a detour. Zi Chen and Ou Li's gazes met. No words were needed. As the group walked away, Ou Li's gaze remained fixed on the group for a long time. After a long time, he withdrew his gaze and looked at the corpse on the ground. Old man, I've avenged you. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it. What's even more regretful is that I have a good successor. In the future, he is destined to make the martial arts world famous. Unfortunately, you won't be able to see it. After he finished speaking, Ou Li's figure swayed and fell backward. Why are you doing this? An old voice sounded as an old man suddenly appeared and supported Ou Li. It was old Tang, who had not appeared for a long time. Ou Li, whose aura was weak, glanced at old Tang and said, "How delightful. After so many years, I haven't been this happy more than a few times." Last time, Zi Chen had used the tremor fighting technique to win, and Zi Chen had obtained the strongest inheritance. Today was also the first time. This is so King satisfying. You dare to compete with me? See if I don't beat you to death. Old Tang took out a pill and snorted. You may be happy, but you almost lost your life. I'm already so old. Do you think it's easy to earn some blue crystal coins? You'll have to give me a discount for this pill. Ou Li took the pill and swallowed it without hesitation. Then, he chuckled. That won't do. My blue crystal coins are for drinking for the rest of my life. Besides, didn't you make a lot of money this time? Other than the Shishan brothers who believed in Zi Chen and made a lot of money, Old Tang, Ou Li, and even Wu Yud had secretly bet on Zi Chen. Many people had made a lot of money. Seeing that Ou Li's face was ruddy and his aura was no longer weak, Old Tang said, "Looks like you won't die. Let's go." Old Tang walked forward. Old Tang. Ou Li suddenly shouted. Old Tang stopped in his tracks. I haven't been able to say thank you. This time, I'll make it up to you. Thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to leave the Sagely Mountain City, said Ou Li. Old Tang turned around and looked at Ou Li with a strange expression. He said, "Why do you sound like you're going to part with your life?" Ou Li said, "I don't have the strength to continue on the road ahead. I'll consider it a success. But you, don't die." Old Tang waved his sleeves and said, "Don't jinx it. My biggest dream is to open a noodle shop. My shop is only temporarily closed. Sooner or later, I'll return to my old business." As Old Tang spoke, his body walked forward. After taking a few steps, his body disappeared. Asterisk 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 that swordsman from before has some skills. He has some of my style. After walking for a long distance, the swordsman Luo Meng, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. His follower beside him also took a deep breath and said, "That's not necessarily true. In terms of elegance, he's not as good as you, big brother Luo Meng." Guo Dao, who was walking at the front, remained silent. No one knew what he was thinking. The surrounding people also started whispering to each other. The swordsman actually dared to kill someone from the Sagely Mountain. He was definitely a daring fellow. However, he actually let them go. This still surprised them, who had just survived a disaster. Zi Chen's group of 4 was not in a good mood. They remained silent. Just at this moment, Luo Meng slapped his forehead and said, "Not good. It's not that swordsman is willing to let us go. Instead, he is severely injured and can no longer attack us. Right now, he has probably already fled the scene and is looking for a place to treat his injuries." The surroundings were in an uproar. Clearly, this possibility existed. "Let's continue. Don't stop," Guo Dao suddenly said. Clearly, he was worried that Luo Meng's guess was right. If the swordsman really recovered, he might come to silence them. Although Zi Chen knew that such a thing would not happen, he would not purposely remind Luo Meng. He followed the others and continued moving forward at full speed. This journey took an entire day, covering a distance of several hundred kilometers. Fortunately, everyone had a good foundation. However, they also expended a lot of energy. Guo Dao guessed that the expert would not be able to catch up. So, he indicated for the group to stop and rest for now. The Luo Meng bladesman jumped off the mutated beast's back. He patted the mutated beast's head and smiled. "Little fellow, you've worked hard. I'll go get you something to eat." The Luo Meng bladesman walked into the distance. Clearly, he was going to get some food for the mutated beast. Coincidentally or not, he passed by Zi Chen's group of 4. Zi Chen's eyes flashed slightly. The scabbard on Luo Meng's back trembled slightly. Then, the saber that had never been unsheathed instantly came out of its scabbard. This was the first time the bladesman drew his saber. Suddenly, a dazzling light appeared. The saber light was not aimed at the enemy but at Xiao. Chapter 3890. No one would have thought that this relatively strong, talkative, and kind swordsman would aim his first attack at Shijiao. Shijiao couldn't react in time, and neither could Lan Jiyu Meng and Shan Ya. The glint of the blade approached. The moment danger struck, a ray of light appeared on Shijiao's body, forming a defensive barrier. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of Ma Yingmeng's mouth. If he did not find the right target, then his attack would naturally return empty-handed. However, if his choice was correct, then this unsheathed attack would kill. With a snap, the defensive barrier on Shijiao's body shattered in an instant. The glint of the blade continued to approach Shijiao, aiming for her neck. He was going to behead her in one strike. The sudden change happened so quickly that the people around them didn't understand what was going on. They were all in a daze. Just then, a black claw mark, emitting a cold metallic luster, suddenly appeared in front of the glint of the blade. Clang! Clang! 2 clanging sounds rang out at almost the same time. The swordsman, Ma Meng, felt a strong vibration coming from the blade. His body kept retreating. However, he wasn't concerned about his attack being blocked. Instead, he was concerned about the other clanging sound. Did he fail as well? He took 5 steps back and was able to stabilize his body. But just to be safe, he took another 5 steps back. Hu Meng looked forward and saw a small black beast that wasn't very big. It was currently floating in the air in front of Xiao, whose face had turned pale. After taking a closer look at the little beast, his expression changed. As someone who had stayed in the Sagely Mountain city for a few months, he naturally recognized the little beast. It was Zi Chen's pet beast. But why was Zi Chen's pet here? Ma Meng's gaze continued to move. He looked behind Shijiao and saw his little brother. His little brother no longer had that look of worship and curiosity. Instead, his expression was solemn. He held a short sword in his hand, and the hand that held it was trembling. Even he, who was supposed to kill, had failed. An ordinary-looking guy with a black staff in his hand stood opposite him, or rather, behind Shijio. He remembered that the guy had introduced himself as Chents, but of course, Halcyon didn't think so. Perhaps the guy had just used an alias and used his real name. The belated Ma Meng felt a sense of regret. If he had known earlier that Zi Chen was also in this team, he wouldn't have acted so hastily. Right now, it was clearly impossible to kill the target in front of the other party. As soon as this thought appeared, he had the intention to retreat. It was at this moment that the other people in the surroundings reacted and retreated one after another. Horror filled their eyes. Unexpectedly, before that bladesman appeared, they started fighting among themselves. There was a flash of light in front of Zi Chen, and he returned to his original appearance. I wanted to go the rest of the way safely, but I didn't expect you two to expose my identity. It's definitely too late for you to retreat now. Just fight it out. Perhaps the two of you still have a chance. There was an uproar in the surroundings. Right now, there was no one who did not know of Zi Chen. If this person was Zi Chen, then the identities of the other people were almost obvious. Sure enough, Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng no longer hid their identities. Shijio had also returned to her original appearance, but her recognition was obviously not as good as the two girls. Halcyon and the Existence who claimed to be his little brother looked at each other. Knowing that there was no way out, the two decided to fight to the death. Halcyon struck out again. Saber intent lingered, and the saber light became even brighter. Yu Gui left in front of Shijio and landed on Zi Chen's shoulder again. Obviously, he didn't intend to continue blocking the attack for Shijio. A sword light flew out in front of Lan Jiumeng and blocked the saber light. In an instant, the saber light shattered, and the sword light continued forward. This weapon, which had obviously advanced to the level of 100 soldiers, cut Halcyon's saber and pierced through Halcyon's body. It drew an arc behind him and disappeared in front of Lan Jiumeng. Halcyon's forward body stopped, and his vitality began to fade. A sword strike ended the battle. On the other side, Zi Chen raised his staff and swung it down. A powerful wave of air surged and spread out, bringing up a lot of smoke and dust. Accompanied by a violent roar, the earth shook, and a long crack appeared, sending sand and stones flying. After the strange phenomenon disappeared, the Existence who attacked Shijio was already dead. These two people's true combat strength wasn't strong. They were mainly good at assassination. At this time, everyone still stayed around and didn't dare to come forward. Shijio stood there and didn't say a word. Her original intention was to help Zi Chen, but she didn't expect that she would be the first to be in danger. After the two died, Zi Chen turned his head to look at Guodao and nodded slightly at him. Guodao immediately waved his hand, and a few people came forward to deal with the bodies. Everyone, continue to rest. However, someone had just died here, so the group tacitly moved forward a few miles. During this period, no one approached Zi Chen's group. They were naturally worried that Zi Chen would misunderstand and kill them with a single strike. A few miles away, a bonfire rose. Zi Chen's group of 4 sat together. There was no one within 100 feet of them. "I'm sorry," said Shijio in shame. "There's no need to blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you," said Zi Chen. At this moment, he seemed to understand the reason why Undrunk Loft let Shijio go with them. Shan Ya gently patted Shijio's shoulder, indicating that she didn't need to think too much. At this moment, Guodao walked over. However, when he was dozens of feet away from Zi Chen, he paused slightly. After seeing Zi Chen nod, he continued approaching. "Is there anything I can help you with?" Guodao sat beside Zi Chen. Zi Chen shook his head and said, "You have to be careful. There should be a lot of danger ahead. Try your best to protect your people. Or, you can take your people and leave in advance. I promised the customer that I would send you safely to the place," said Guodao. "There's no need for that. In fact, it's also a good thing that you take your people and leave first. No one should attack you again. Besides, I don't really trust the people in the group now. After all, if there's an assassination once, there will be a second time." Zi Chen's concerns existed, but Guodao's persistence was beyond imagination. I will let my people stay 100 feet away from you and not disturb you. Zichen didn't say anything else. He respected Guo Dao's choice. After resting for a night, the group continued on their way. Everyone was no longer so worried about the swordsman who dared to kill the people of the sacred mountain. This was because Zichen was in the group. He had hundreds of soldiers with him and was an existence that could suppress Sheng Lun. However, because they were too nervous before, they didn't notice that Sheng Lun, who had been defeated by Zichen, had fallen into a pool of blood again. This time, after leaving the sacred mountain, without the protection of the mirror spirit, he couldn't be more dead. On Zichen's way, Yu Yi had been waiting for a long time. He obviously wasn't impulsive. Instead, he was fully prepared. Chapter 3891. There were many people who wanted to kill Zichen, and Yu Yi was one of them with a strong desire to kill. This time, he came to the road ahead early in the morning, and his target was Zichen. He waited for half a month. As for the earth soul beside him, he had enough patience to wait. This was because Zichen had something he needed, or rather, something he coveted. Could it be that someone else beat us to it? Besides Yu Yi, there was another young man who also had a strong desire to kill Zichen, and that was Chen Kai, who was not qualified to stay in the sacred mountain. This time, he and Yu Yi chose to cooperate. The latest news is that Zichen is walking in this direction, and we will be the first to meet him. Yu Yi said confidently, with cold killing intent in his eyes. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the vision of the two, a group of people appeared. The group had close to 100 people, and after seeing the people blocking the road ahead, they stopped. During this time, 4 people did not stop and continued to move forward. Yu Yi saw the people coming, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. They were finally here. The others also became alert, and light circulated around their bodies. Yu Yi turned around and saw that the old man behind her had disappeared into thin air. Chen Kai smiled proudly. They're really here, this time we're going to be rich. He seemed to see the scene of Zichen's death. Behind him, another old man disappeared into thin air. Zichen and the other 3 did not stop walking, even though they had already seen Yu Yi. After deciding not to hide his identity anymore, Zichen had the idea of killing his way out of this mess. Zichen, you're really brave. A sneer sounded. It was Yu Yi. You're still alive, which surprised me. Zichen said lightly. As long as my life spirit shield is not destroyed, I'm immortal. Yu Yi looked at Zichen and said, I have to thank you for helping me baptize my life spirit shield, and I heard that it's ranked very high. Zichen's hand flashed, and the life spirit shield appeared, shining brightly. Are you sure it's still yours? It's my natal item. As long as it's not broken, it's mine. Yu Yi smiled complacently and said, Shield, come. In Zichen's hand, the light of the spirit shield was still blooming, but there was no abnormality. Zichen looked at Yu Yi, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. Shield, come. Yu Yi's expression changed, and she shouted once more. A strange energy came from the front, like a ripple of vibration. Zichen held the light shield in his hand and stood there motionless. When the ripple came into contact with Zichen and the light shield, it disappeared. During this time, the light shield did not react. Shield, come. Shield me. Shield return. Shield, come. Yu Yi was unwilling to give up and shouted a few more times. Every time, a strange phenomenon appeared, but the light shield still did not have any reaction. Old Tang was Zichen's guardian, and his realm was extremely high. After obtaining the spirit shield, Zichen naturally had to let him check it, especially after knowing that Yu Yi was still alive. At first, Old Tang also had this concern. After all, Yu Yi had grown with this shield for many years. But after Old Tang carefully checked it, he unexpectedly found that the light shield had completely recognized him as its master, and there were no hidden dangers. As for why this was so, even Old Tang could not explain it clearly. So when he saw Yu Yi again today, Zichen could calmly take out this shield. Even if Yu Yi shouted herself hoarse, the result would not change. Looking at the anxious Yu Yi, who was sweating profusely, Zichen once again laughed sarcastically. But at this time, his expression suddenly changed. He raised the spirit shield in his hand, and countless rays of light blossomed from the spirit shield. A bony palm print suddenly appeared in the air, and like a ghost claw, it went straight for Zichen's head. Boom! A dull vibration sounded, and a powerful fluctuation spread out. Zichen, who was holding the shield, felt his arms sink as a huge force came through the light shield. He was pushed back by the huge force. Shan Ye and the other two also retreated. After the ghost claw, an old man walked out of the air. There was no powerful aura around him, but he gave off an extremely oppressive feeling. The old man looked at Zichen in front of him and said indifferently, "If it wasn't for this shield, this old man could kill you in one move." Behind the light shield, Zichen replied, "If we were in the same realm, I would be able to beat 100 of you." In the previous attack, Zichen had clearly sensed that the opponent's realm was the Earth Soul realm. And the fact that the opponent could approach him was enough to prove that he was fully prepared. Sure enough, Old Tang, who had been tailing them, appeared behind them. But there was also another person in front of Old Tang. Since the other party dared to block Old Tang, they were naturally also in the Earth Soul realm. The other party stopped Old Tang and said, "Why don't we wait and watch the show first?" Old Tang said calmly, "It's not easy to reach this step. Why do you want to seek death?" The other party said, "We're both in the Earth Soul realm, and there's not much difference between us. It's hard for me to kill you, but it's also not that easy for you to kill me. However, I'm not here to fight to the death with you today. I just need to delay you for a moment." A moment was enough for an Earth Soul realm expert to kill a human soul realm expert. This was an indisputable fact. Just as the Earth Soul realm expert finished speaking, Zichen's opponent, the skinny old man, made his move. While suppressing his realm, he also chose to take the initiative to attack. Behind him, Yu Yi and Chen Kai didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this, because Zichen's current battle strength could no longer be measured by the human soul realm. Experts of the same realm couldn't even last 2 moves in front of him. The advantage of numbers was useless. This was something that those who were qualified to join the Sacred Mountain had already proven countless times for them. Only by suppressing his realm could he truly kill his opponent. Just as the Earth Soul realm expert made his move, Zichen also moved. He held a shield in his left hand, and a mysterious object appeared in his right hand. This was the first time Zichen took out the sacred talisman brush to defend against an enemy after it was completed. The tip of the brush blossomed with light, and as Zichen's brush landed, his soul power left a mark in the sky. The soul power between heaven and earth was like boiling water, crazily gathering at the place where Zichen's brush landed. The scarlet-winged tiger. An earth-shaking tiger roar resounded, shaking the surroundings. A winged tiger as large as a mountain appeared out of thin air, charging straight for the Earth Soul realm expert. With the mysterious object, Zichen's brush moved even faster, and the winged tiger's aura became even more tyrannical. This winged tiger was enough to sweep away most of the human soul realm experts in the world. But in front of an Earth Soul realm expert, it wasn't enough. The skinny palm fell from the sky, and the world instantly darkened, as if dark clouds were covering the sky. The huge palm print instantly drowned the winged tiger. With a loud bang, the scarlet-winged tiger's body exploded. After Zichen finished his brush, he didn't stop. He, who was fighting an Earth Soul realm expert, naturally didn't dare to be careless. The sacred talisman brush in his hand fell again, and thunder rumbled in the sky as a long-horned serpent appeared. Chapter 3892. The battle caused a huge commotion. Powerful shockwaves swept over from afar like a storm. Guo Dao and the others retreated again and again. At this moment, there was only shock in their eyes. Zichen was too strong. Even if he only used the holy talisman art, it was still terrifying. An ordinary human soul would only be courting death if they went forward. Only an Earth Soul could truly suppress Zichen. In fact, the other party did the same. An Earth Soul destroyed the scarlet-winged tiger with a single palm. But immediately after, Zichen exerted his strength again. A serpent appeared out of thin air, carrying lightning and dark clouds as it headed straight for the Earth Soul old man. The old man struck out again, repelling the serpent with a single palm. It was only repelled, but not destroyed. Powerful energy shook the sky, forming a shockwave that spread out in all directions. Shan Ya and Lan Jiumeng were not idle bystanders. Just as Zi Chen and the Earth Soul were fighting, the two of them also attacked one after another. Their targets were Yu Yi, Chen Kai, and the others. Swoosh! Lan Jiumeng's long sword pierced through the body of a human soul. This weapon had long reached the level of 100 weapons and was even ranked at the top. It was not a problem for it to kill a mere human soul. Shan Ya did not use her weapon. Instead, she charged forward. A strange power that belonged to her appeared around her. Her opponent was a human soul with a soul weapon. When he saw Shan Ya arrive, he used a powerful attack. A sharp aura surged forward. Light appeared at the tip of Shan Ya's finger and disappeared in a flash. She stood behind the human soul. The soul weapon in the opponent's hand was still in attack mode, but his figure had already stopped. There was a red line between his brows. This was Shan Ya's power. It was like the nemesis of all soul power in the world. She could easily kill her enemies without even using a soul weapon. She and Lan Jiumeng advanced side by side, killing one human soul after another. Shijiao Er's position was slightly behind. When Yu Yi and Chen Kai saw this scene, their expressions changed drastically. Disbelief filled their eyes. They never thought that the two people following Zi Chen would be so powerful. In fact, the two of them were not weak. The reason why they were not very famous was because Zi Chen was too dazzling. As for the two women standing beside Zi Chen, although they were also noticed, most people paid more attention to their beauty. Their true combat strength was completely ignored. Shield, come. Looking at the two people gradually approaching, Yu Yi felt a little nervous. He used the secret technique again and shouted. Naturally, he returned without any results. At this moment, a thin ray of light flew from the side, like an enlarged embroidery needle. Yu Yi couldn't help but shudder when she sensed his sharp aura. Since the life companion spirit shield had not returned, he could only use a defensive method. A strange light protected his body. The enlarged embroidery needle was blocked outside. It kept spinning at high speed, trying to break through the defense. That was Xiao Er's soul weapon, and it was blocked by Yu Yi's defense. Yu Yi let out a sigh of relief. Whoosh! At this moment, a sharp whistle sounded. Lan Jiumeng's soul sword arrived, shining with a dazzling blue light. Buzz! Yu Yi's defense began to tremble violently, as if it could break at any time. This scared Yu Yi so much that her face turned pale and she cried out in alarm. At this moment, Zi Chen's opponent, the skinny old man, had already destroyed the Sky Thunder Dragon. He had used a total of 3 attacks. Feeling the abnormality behind him, he planned to go back to help. At this moment, Zi Chen put away his brush and held his staff. Using the strange footwork of the combat technique, his figure flashed and arrived in front of the Earth Soul realm. He smashed down with his staff. The patterns on the staff lit up instantly. The original black light was replaced by a purple light. A clear purple staff shadow appeared between heaven and earth, like a giant's weapon. The old man snorted and raised his palm to attack again. A terrifying power surged out from his skinny palm. With a loud bang, the staff shadow dissipated. Zi Chen retreated a few feet. The purple staff in his hand smashed down again with a mighty aura. The spectators in the distance were all shocked. Zi Chen was only at the human soul realm. Not only did he block the attacks of an Earth Soul realm several times, he even took the initiative to attack. He's really amazing. Guo Dao sighed from the bottom of his heart. They were both at the human soul realm, but the gap between him and Zi Chen wasn't small. Old Tang didn't attack immediately. Instead, he watched quietly. He wasn't surprised that Zi Chen could block the attacks of an Earth Soul realm expert. Everything was within his expectations. His opponent, who was originally very calm, couldn't sit still anymore. Looking at Zi Chen's methods, he obviously wouldn't be defeated before his strength was exhausted. Old Chen, stop hiding your strength. Quickly finish him off. The Earth Soul realm expert from the Yu family said loudly. Zi Chen's opponent couldn't help sighing. I never expected that I would have to use my full strength to deal with a mere human soul realm expert. Forget it. This brat is indeed difficult to deal with. I'll just go all out. As for whether I'll become a joke in the future, that can only be discussed in the future. He stretched his hand out and pressed against the void. His soul energy started to circulate wildly. A black palm appeared in the sky. It looked like the skeleton of a ghost. It was dozens of feet large. Black light lingered on the skeleton and it was filled with an evil aura. Brat, you should be proud to be able to force an Earth Soul Realm expert to use his full strength. The demonic claw immediately pressed down and a bizarre energy enveloped the area. Zichen felt that the space around him had been locked down and he couldn't dodge. Light shot out from his eyes as he circulated his spiritual shield with all his strength. The spiritual shield instantly enlarged and enveloped Zichen. The demonic claw brought along a terrifying aura as it grabbed the light shield. Countless energies converged at the same time. The enlarged light shield was being squeezed and it started to shrink. Zichen curled up in the light shield and constantly channeled energy into it. Boom! The energy of both sides was constantly being consumed. In the end, the demonic claw was the first to collapse. Zichen's figure appeared. He glanced at the undamaged light shield and his eyes were filled with joy. This was the full strength attack of an Earth Soul Realm expert. He didn't hold back at all. If it wasn't for the extraordinary quality of the spiritual shield, he wouldn't have been able to block it. At this moment, he really wanted to thank Yu Yi personally. That was because this shield was too practical for him. Suddenly, a crisp sound rang out from behind. It was Yu Yi's defense that had been broken. Following that, Lan Jiyu Meng and Xiao Er's soul weapons pierced through each other's bodies. Yu Yi let out a miserable cry and fell into a pool of blood. You're courting death. The Earth Soul Realm expert who had been restraining Old Tang roared and turned around to help. At this moment, Old Tang moved. There was no probing or foreplay. He attacked with his full strength. A ray of light shot forward like a bolt of lightning and instantly pierced through the Earth Soul Realm expert's body. At the same time, the speed of the ray of light didn't decrease as it continued towards Zichen's opponent. The opponent's expression changed drastically as he turned around and struck out with his palm. An even more terrifying power surged out from his withered palm. This ray of light wasn't blocked at all. It directly pierced through the opponent's arm and pierced into his forehead. Chapter 3893. The rainbow light returned to Old Tang's side and disappeared in a flash. Old Tang looked at the two Earth Soul realms standing there temporarily and sighed. What's the point of doing this? The two powerful Earth Soul realms gradually lost their vitality and fell to the ground. With a bang, smoke and dust rose. Yu Yi was not dead yet, but he felt that he might as well die now. Whether or not there was an Earth Soul realm existence in a family was extremely important. The weight of an Earth Soul realm expert was also unimaginable. Now, one of their Yu clan's Earth Soul realms had died in battle. This was a huge blow to the Yu clan. The overall strength of the Yu clan would be reduced by at least a third. With this, the competing forces would naturally take the opportunity to rise. However, Yu Yi's worries were obviously unnecessary. Because after the two Earth Soul realms died, he would not be able to live either. In other words, none of the people he brought would be able to leave alive. The powerful attack approached again, drowning him like a sea. The battle ended quickly. There were more than 20 corpses on the ground. Among them, the two Earth Soul realms corpses were especially conspicuous. Because even though they were already dead, the aura emitted from their bodies was still powerful. Zichen turned around and looked at Old Tang, preparing to praise him. Old Tang's protective power was too strong. But soon, Zichen saw that Old Tang's face was pale, as if he had suffered heavy injuries. Obviously, Old Tang had paid a great price to suddenly kill the two Earth Soul realms. Old Tang looked at Zichen and said, I'm powerless to fight anymore. It's up to you guys now. Zichen's expression changed slightly when he heard this. He looked around but did not see anyone. Yu Gui. He called out softly. Yu Gui flew over from afar and landed on Zichen's shoulder, then looked around. There was a flickering light in its eyes, and finally, its gaze fixed on a certain spot. The staff in Zichen's hand glowed, and nearly 2/3 of the runes lit up. The staff turned purple, and he waved it in the air. Whoosh! A purple-gold staff shadow extended out horizontally. When it came into contact with 100 feet away, it exploded with waves of fluctuations. In the fluctuations, figures appeared and were sent flying. There were actually 5 of them, all of them in the human soul realm. It was unknown when they had been hiding in the dark. Yu Gui's gaze continued to move and fixed in another direction. Zichen swung his staff again, and the staff once again swept across the area. The second wave of people appeared. It was definitely not a coincidence that they had been able to accurately force the enemy to reveal themselves twice. Yu Gui was able to see through their concealment methods. Then, without Zichen needing to do anything, the surrounding light flashed again, and one figure after another appeared. This time, there were even more human souls, nearly 100 of them. They could watch Yu Yi and Chen Kai die without doing anything. Of course, they were not from the 2 families. In this region, there was only one place that could mobilize so many human souls at once. Sacred Mountain. It seemed that the opportunity Zichen had obtained from the Sacred Mountain was so great that some people didn't want him to leave alive, even if he voluntarily gave up the sacred realm in exchange for his freedom. Old Tang looked at these people and didn't say anything. Behind him, Guodao and the others were shocked, but none of them dared to cry out. These human souls slowly approached, forming an encirclement. Old Tang, who was in the Earth Soul realm, wasn't in the encirclement, and no one in the Earth Soul realm appeared to restrain him. Zichen's group of 4 began to gather together, standing back to back, staring in 4 directions. The enemy came prepared. "We have to go all out," Zichen said in a deep voice. He wasn't worried that the enemy would use numbers to suppress him, but everything had a limit. For example, he had just fought with an Earth Soul realm expert, which had consumed a lot of his energy. Now that he was facing so many human souls, it would naturally be a bit difficult to fight. Moreover, if he wasn't wrong, these human soul stage cultivators all had powerful backgrounds and were truly capable. As if to verify Zichen's guess, light flashed in the vision of the 4 people, and soul weapons appeared one after another. These soul weapons were all Saint Soul weapons from the Saint Soul Mountain. Although there weren't hundreds of them, they were far superior to ordinary soul weapons. After taking out their Saint Soul weapons, they began to speed up. Behind them, everyone began to form hand seals, using the Saint Soul arts from the Saint Soul Mountain. Zichen raised his brush and a scarlet-winged tiger appeared, charging forward. Many of the approaching attacks were slapped down one by one, but there were even more attacks coming. These attacks naturally couldn't compare to the attack of an Earth Soul realm expert, but there were many of them. Soon, the scarlet-winged tiger exploded. Zichen rushed out from the explosion, holding his staff and shield. Using his fighting technique, Zichen, who had killed his way into the crowd, was like a tiger that had grown wings. He used all his strength to activate the staff that was suffused with purple light, instantly shattering a Saint Soul weapon. The staff's momentum didn't decrease as it directly killed a human soul realm expert. To Zichen, this was a complete massacre. But it also consumed a lot of energy. Just as Zichen made his move, Yu Gui also quietly attacked the enemy. Right now, it had no problem killing a human soul realm expert. Old Tang stood in the distance, silently watching the battlefield, as if everything was as he said. He no longer had the strength to make a move. Further away, 2 people stood. Their figures were blocked by the clouds, so the people below couldn't see them, but they could easily see what was happening on the battlefield. "Your Saint Mountain is really rich. You actually used so many human soul realm experts to exhaust the enemy." A middle-aged man standing on the left side as he looked at the one-sided battle in front of him. The person standing on the right said indifferently, "The Sacred Mountain has recruited too many people this time. We need them right now. Moreover, before coming here, we have already reached an agreement with the Mirror Spirit. These people have left behind a part of their souls. Even if they die here, they can be reborn." The person who spoke earlier exclaimed, "The Mirror Spirit is indeed omnipotent. In this continent, only the Mirror Spirit can do this. And in every battle, only the Sacred Mountain would be able to make such a big move. Brother Lan, you flatter us. This battle will be over soon. It's time for the 2 of us to take the stage." Everything will go according to the agreement. Your Lan family will provide accurate information, and after the matter is settled, you can take 100 soldiers. The two slowly descended from the sea of clouds. On the battlefield, Zichen's group and Yu Gui were all using their full strength. The number of human soul realm experts was decreasing one by one, and the pressure on them was also decreasing. However, they didn't feel relaxed. Instead, they felt more dignified. Because the enemy had sent out more than 100 human soul realm experts, how could there be no Earth soul realm experts in the dark? Boom! There was a huge energy shock, and the last human soul realm expert fell. Zichen's chest heaved up and down. His face was slightly pale, and there were more than a dozen small wounds on his body. He didn't know how much he was injured in this battle, but he had consumed a lot of energy. Old Tang, who had been watching the battle, suddenly turned his head and frowned. Chapter 3894. Sensing the aura of the Earth Soul Realm, Zichen laughed bitterly. As expected, we can't be kind. Right now, he had expended a lot of energy. It was obviously impossible for him to fight an Earth Soul Realm expert. The other party had clearly come prepared. They had no intention of letting them leave alive. As the Earth Soul Realm expert approached, Zichen said in a deep voice, "You guys go first. I'll cover you." Shan Ye glanced at Zichen and didn't say anything. However, her resolute gaze said everything. She, who had also expended a lot of energy, knew very well that if she really left this time, it would be an eternal farewell. "We can't leave." At this moment, Lan Jiu Meng's voice rang out. "If we continue fighting, we might have a chance of survival. If we split up, we will definitely die." She looked around with vigilance in her eyes. At this moment, Yu Gui had locked onto another direction. He should have discovered something. Zichen glanced at Old Tang. The other party had killed 2 Earth Soul Realm experts in an instant. This was very impressive. Perhaps, Old Tang still had the ability to surprise him. "I can at most help you restrain one." Old Tang looked at Zichen and said. Zichen gripped the staff in his hand tightly and said, "That's fine too. Fighting one was better than fighting 2. The 2 Earth Soul Realm experts separated. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family landed in front of Old Tang. He looked at Old Tang and said, "How about the 2 of us also watch this battle?" Obviously, he didn't want to expose his identity. "Sure, but be careful not to lose your life." Old Tang said, "It's not easy to reach the Earth Soul Realm. It's better to have fewer suicidal actions." The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family smiled and said, "If you still have the ability, then do as you wish." In a battle between Earth Soul Realm experts, it wasn't easy to determine the victor, and it was even more difficult to determine life and death. Old Tang's ability to kill 2 Earth Soul Realm experts in an instant was already very impressive. He didn't believe that the other party had such a method. The other Earth Soul Realm expert flew directly towards Zichen. He didn't attack immediately. Instead, he released the pressure of an Earth Soul Realm expert to give Zichen some pressure. "Before you die, do you have any last words?" The Earth Soul landed on the ground and slowly moved forward. The pressure that fell on Zichen increased as he moved forward. Zichen narrowed his eyes. "Let's see if you have what it takes to kill me. You're still so stubborn even in the face of death." "Interesting." The Earth Soul smiled faintly and said, "Remember, the one who killed you is Shani." A powerful aura began to surge, giving Zichen even more pressure. Shan Naya had seen the previous battle. He was very surprised to see the 2 Earth Soul Realm experts die, but he was even more relieved. This was because they had become the Oriole. If they had been the first to act as the Mantis, the 2 of them would have died on the spot. It was at this moment that Zichen put away his shield and staff. Sanyal sneered and said, "Weren't you very tough just now? What? Are you going to accept your fate now?" Although he said that, he didn't let down his guard at all. Zichen had too many good things on him. He might have other trump cards and tricks up his sleeve. Sure enough, the next moment, a holy talisman brush appeared in Zichen's hand. According to the information he received, the holy talisman brush had a great origin. As the consumption increased, Zichen had to go all out. Hence, He took out the unfathomable brush. The holy talisman art should be of some use at this moment. He took a deep breath and his eyes turned cold. His soul power began to surge. He raised the brush, and the tip of the brush bloomed. He drew a horizontal stroke. Heaven and earth brush. A straight ray of light was left in the air. It was like the rule light that cut through heaven and earth as it swept toward the Earth Soul Realm expert. This was a powerful move that Zi Chen had intentionally hidden. He hadn't used it even when he was on the sacred mountain. This time, there was complete mystery. The power of his stroke had increased by several levels, and its power was much stronger than before. Compared to the ghost tiger and the serpent, it was much more powerful. Shania's expression couldn't help but change. He clearly didn't expect Zi Chen to have such a powerful move even though the battle had lasted until now. A light flashed in his hand, and a soul weapon was about to appear. Zi Chen's move was indeed very powerful and posed a strong threat to him. However, he was confident that he could block it because he had a holy soul weapon, and it was the 100 soul weapon. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a ray of light appeared in front of Lan Jiyu Meng. The blue dragon beast that had never participated in a battle suddenly appeared. It was like a shining blue sun, and its body emitted a dazzling light. It appeared in the air and stared at Shania. It waved its claws at him. A ray of blue light flew out at a speed faster than the holy talisman brush. It seemed to have crossed time and space and instantly landed on Shania's body. The blue light enveloped his body. Shania felt that the time and space around him seemed to have changed. Space was in chaos, and time was still. The weapon in his hand that had yet to appear was also blocked by a strange force. It was in a static state and no longer appeared. Even his thoughts paused for a moment. This change happened very quickly, but it also disappeared very quickly. It happened in an instant, like an illusion. Shania's thoughts became clear once more. The weapon in his hand appeared. It was an extremely sharp sword. It was the Light Shadow Sword. It had once been the 100 soul weapon. However, it had been pushed down by Zi Chen and the other two's weapons. Even though it had been removed from the 100 soul weapon, Shania was still confident that he could use it to kill Zi Chen. Shania was very confident. However, what had just happened was not an illusion. It was real. Just as he paused, the holy talisman brush was already nearing him. The moment he regained consciousness, the holy talisman brush had already reached him. There was no sound. It was as if the laws had descended. Without a sound, Shania's body was split in two. All the power in his body was rapidly draining away. His originally confident face was now filled with fear. He had no idea what had just happened. A ray of soul light immediately flew out from between his eyebrows. It swept up the light shadow sword that had fallen and flew into the distance. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family was stunned when he saw this scene. He was a little dazed. "You were distracted." Old Tang's indifferent voice was heard. The light in front of him flashed again. The rainbow lightning appeared again and penetrated the Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family. The Earth Soul Realm expert from the Lan family let out a scream and immediately fled into the distance. The two Earth Soul Realm experts had fled with serious injuries. Shania from the Saint Soul Mountain had even lost his physical body. It was a great loss. This scene was not what Zi Chen had expected. It was an absolute surprise. When he turned back to look at the blue dragon beast, he realized that its aura was no longer stable. The dazzling blue light around it had dimmed. Chapter 3895. The spectators in the distance were almost petrified. Zi Chen was too powerful. He had seriously injured an Earth Soul Realm expert with one move. If the other party hadn't reacted quickly and fled in time, he would probably have stayed here forever. Some of them had seen Zi Chen's battle in the Sacred Mountain, but compared to today's battle, that battle was nothing. Guo Dao's eyes flickered. He was extremely shocked and impressed at the same time. Such a powerful human soul realm expert was definitely not seen in 1,000 years. He might even be the strongest human soul realm expert in the world. However, Zi Chen's current state was clearly not as good as before. The prolonged battle had consumed too much of his energy. But had the crisis been resolved? At this moment, Chen took a step forward and drew another stroke in the air with the sacred talisman brush. It was the same attack he had used against the Earth Soul Realm expert, but it wasn't as powerful as before. Perhaps it was because he had consumed too much energy, or perhaps it was because Chen had deliberately held back. The power of that stroke extended into the distance. Wherever it passed, the space seemed to be split into two. The human soul realm experts hidden in the space were also split into two. There's more. Guo Dao's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. The enemies were endless. They had no intention of letting Chen go. With a stroke, 3 human soul realm experts who couldn't dodge in time were killed. There were still 2 who managed to dodge in time. Before Chen could make a second stroke, those hidden in the dark appeared one by one. This time, there were dozens of people. After they appeared, they didn't charge at Chen. Instead, they attacked him from afar. Sacred talismans. They were all sacred talismans. They were from the sacred talisman mountain. After seeing the sacred talismans in the sky, Chen's expression immediately turned ugly. He didn't expect that even the sacred talisman mountain would send people. The next moment, a sacred talisman flew out in front of him, forming a huge defense. The attack of a sacred talisman master was definitely extraordinary. Moreover, there were so many of them. Shijiu Lan Jiu Meng, and Shan Ye immediately retreated and hid in the defense. Old Tang was still standing in the distance. He was clearly unable to fight anymore, but no one attacked him. When the sacred talisman's attack landed, the energy rumbled and a terrifying shockwave spread out. Next, it was time for the Saint Talisman Masters to perform. In the eyes of the others, the expensive sacred talismans seemed like they were worthless as they rushed madly in Chen's direction. Thick smoke billowed as the ground began to sink. A huge crater appeared. No one could see how Chen's group was doing, but judging from their previous state and the fact that they were being attacked by so many Saint Talismans, it was unlikely that they were in a good state. 15 minutes. Those holy talismans exploded for a full quarter of an hour. Smoke and dust filled the sky, and not a single person could be seen. Such a long period of time was more than enough for these Saint Talisman Masters to exhaust all of their offensive Saint Talismans. Then, they stopped and began to approach each other. If he was alive, he wanted to see him. If he was dead, he wanted to see the corpse. Besides, Chen had something they needed. He's not really dead, is he? Guo Dao looked at the deep pit in front of him with a hint of worry in his eyes. The smoke and dust were currently scattering, but there was still no activity. Perhaps it was a disaster. At this moment, a blue light suddenly flew out from the dissipating smoke and dust. Like a bolt of lightning, it pierced through the body of a human soul realm cultivator. A dazzling ray of light followed closely behind, flying towards the second human soul realm cultivator. This was Shan Ye's soul weapon, which was also a 100 soul weapon. After that, Zhu Er's and Chen's soul weapons also flew out and attacked the enemy. At the same time, soul power from all directions gathered towards the deep pit, causing the smoke and dust to fly up again. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, and lightning appeared from within. A serpent appeared under the dark clouds. Its body was as large as a mountain, and it carried a terrifying aura as it charged towards the enemy outside the deep pit. Cries of surprise came from afar. Clearly, after such a violent attack, Chen's group was still alive. Moreover, the power of their counterattack was terrifying. The pale-faced old Tang sighed. As an Earth Soul Realm cultivator, even he began to admire Chen. The dust and shockwaves in the deep crater finally dissipated, and Chen and the other 3 flew out. After seeing the state of the 4 of them, many people's faces changed. Including Chen, the robes on their bodies were no longer intact, and their exposed skin was already dyed red with blood. They were all alive, but they were heavily injured. Whether or not they could survive this battle was still a question. The long staff that belonged to Chen flew back. When it landed in his hand, he, who was covered in blood, charged forward with the staff. With each staff strike, he destroyed a ghost tiger. With a shield of light protecting his body, he charged through the violent energy and killed the human soul realm cultivator with a single strike. At this moment, He was moving around in a small area. Fighting techniques were extremely useful in this area. However, every time he killed a human soul realm cultivator, his energy consumption would increase. Zichen was almost exhausted. The human soul realm cultivators on the battlefield were decreasing one by one. It wasn't that they weren't strong, but that Zichen's group was too strong. Other than Shijio's weapon, the main soul weapons were the 100 soldiers from the Sacred Weapon Mountain. Even if they were heavily injured, they still had powerful strength. This was the power of the 100 soldiers themselves. The light on Lan Jiumeng's blue sword became extremely dim and flew back to her side. Lan Jiumeng's figure fell from the sky, but she didn't even have the strength to stay in the air. An attack appeared behind Lan Jiumeng. Shan Wei came to her rescue in time. After killing the enemy, she also used up the last of her strength. As for Shijio, she was already exhausted. Only Zichen was still fighting, until the last human soul realm cultivator was killed by him. His figure fell from the sky, and he used his staff to support himself on the ground, not letting himself fall. As far as the eye could see, there were corpses everywhere. Just this battle alone might not be able to change the situation of some factions, but it would definitely cause them to suffer serious injuries. Zichen's breathing became hurried, and even his eyes became blurry. However, he didn't immediately start healing his injuries. Instead, he turned around and looked into the distance. No matter how intense or terrifying the battle was, that group of people didn't leave. They had been silently watching the battle. Zichen didn't know how many of them had problems, but there were definitely some. Guodao tidied his robes and looked around. After confirming that no one else had appeared, he walked forward. The gazes he saw changed, becoming extremely cold. As soon as he moved, 5 people walked out with him. It's really not easy to be the Oriole. Guodao, who was walking forward, said, I don't know how many people wanted to be the Oriole, but they didn't choose the right time and died here. Fortunately, we can endure better than them. Zichen looked at Guodao and said indifferently, you clearly know that the Oriole is dead, yet you still dare to appear? You're already like this. What do I have to be afraid of? Chapter 3896. Lan Hua, are you from the Lan family? Hearing Lan Hua's self-introduction, Zichen's expression changed. He was in disbelief. His relationship with the Lan family was extraordinary. Why would the Lan family send someone to kill him? However, Zichen quickly understood. The Lan family was not Lan Rui's Lan family, but a force that ruled a state. There were too many people who could speak. Impossible, you must be Guodao. At this moment, Xiao who was recuperating, spoke. This team was arranged by the Lan family. There was already an assassin. How could there be a problem with the leader of the team? How could the Lan family not be able to handle such a small matter? That short-lived guy you're talking about is already dead. Lan Hua laughed. Then, his appearance began to change. Maybe you don't know me, but you definitely know my brother. His name is Lan Qian. Zichen knew Lan Qian. He deliberately caused trouble for them. He seemed to be a brainless second generation, but in fact, he was a very scheming person. Last time, he took advantage of the situation and left a mark on Noah's body. That was the reason for the subsequent encirclement. However, that Lan Qian was dead. Who killed him? The puzzled Zichen pondered for a moment and understood. He must have died in a game between the families. After all, the enemies that came wanted to kill the heir, Lan Rui. Now you should know why you're dead, right? Lan Hua laughed again. There was a hint of malevolence in his smile. Today, none of you can think of leaving. Guodao is dead. How is this possible? Xiao still couldn't believe it. The people she arranged this time were very careful. How could the news be leaked in advance? It's the Lan family. Zichen answered Xiao's doubts. The people who provided us with the information came from the Lan family. They should have people among them. Only the Lan family knew where Zichen was hiding. They also understood the Lan family's thoughts in advance. Therefore, they made some preparations. If it weren't for this incident, they would have continued to endure until Zichen relaxed his vigilance or when they felt the time was right. Today's battle provided them with an extremely good opportunity. Therefore, Lan Hua no longer restrained himself and decided to stand out. Lan Hua looked at Zi Chen and said, "Do you have any last words before you die?" Lan Jiu Meng and the other two tried to stand up and face the enemy. However, they had consumed too much energy and the medicinal pills had not fully taken effect yet. Therefore, they were still powerless and sat back down. Zi Chen said indifferently, "I should be the one asking you that." As soon as he said that, light suddenly shone from Zi Chen's body. Or perhaps it would be better to say that he was burning with flames. That was a kind of life flame. It was extremely gentle. After it appeared, Zi Chen's injuries began to heal. The energy he had consumed earlier also began to recover. This was a revival technique. It was a technique from the other black jade slip. The first black jade slip contained the heaven and earth brush. Previously, Zi Chen had used it with the blue dragon beast to split an Earth Soul Realm expert into two. Now that the revival technique had appeared, it was as if infinite potential had been stimulated. Zi Chen's injuries and strength began to recover. Another great trump card that he had not used on the sacred mountain appeared in front of everyone's eyes. "Good boy, you can really keep your composure." Old Tang sighed. If it were him, he would never have forced himself into such a dangerous situation. The three girls were extremely excited. They were very happy that Zi Chen still had a trump card. Zi Chen's change made Lan Hua's expression change. Obviously, he did not expect that Zi Chen still had such a trick up his sleeve. However, he was not afraid at all. He said coldly, "So what if you have a trump card? You're already seriously injured. Let's see how many more attacks you can block." Zi Chen glanced at Lan Hua disdainfully. Then, he waved his hand and 9 saint talismans appeared in front of him. They were the ghost spirit saint talismans. In the next moment, 9 ghost spirits appeared and went straight for Lan Hua. Lan Hua said coldly, "Since I dared to come, I naturally have a way to deal with this move of yours." He patted the jade pendant on his waist. A ray of light was released from it, forming a strange defense. Since he dared to come to kill Zi Chen, of course, he was fully prepared. However, would it work? Zi Chen ignored Lan Hua. Instead, he looked at the others, his eyes full of cold killing intent. The flame of life was burning around him. He held the staff and moved forward, using the most powerful strength he had. At the same time, he used the power of the staff to kill these people one by one. The energy fluctuated. Zi Chen's body fell. Even though the flame of revival was still burning, his body swayed slightly and he almost fell. He looked at Lan Hua, who thought that he was fully prepared, standing there motionless. His vitality had disappeared. The power of the ghost spirit holy talisman was not something that Lan Hua could imagine. Zi Chen looked at the crowd in the distance. This time, no one stood out. He did not know whether it was because they were shocked by Zi Chen's combat strength or because all the people who should have appeared had appeared. "It seems that we're safe." Zi Chen sighed and finally relaxed. "That's not necessarily true." A cold voice suddenly sounded. A person appeared out of thin air. The moment he appeared, a terrifying aura surged around him. It was another Earth Soul Realm expert. "Your performance has surprised us, but that's as far as it goes." A second voice sounded. Another Earth Soul Realm expert had appeared. Zi Chen's face immediately turned pale. There were 2 more Earth Soul Realm experts. If that was the case, there were 6 of them. The 2 approached Zi Chen, one in front and one behind. Killing intent surged in their eyes. "I happen to have one more attack. Which one of you will go first?" Old Tang looked at the 2 and said. He had recovered some of his strength when he was watching the battle. "Your opponent is me." The 3rd Earth Soul Realm expert appeared and landed directly in front of Old Tang. Looking at the 3 Earth Soul Realm experts, Old Tang did not feel afraid. Instead, he said, "It should be enough, right?" "It is indeed enough. No matter how shameless you are, there should be a limit." An aged voice sounded, and another person appeared. Zi Chen, who was in despair, was surprised and delighted when he saw the old man. The other 3 Earth Soul Stage experts were alarmed and subconsciously stopped in their tracks. This was because the person who came was the Mountain Lord of St. Talisman Mountain, the strongest St. Talisman Master on St. Talisman Mountain. The Mountain Lord of St. Talisman looked at the 3 Earth Soul Realm experts and said, "There are so many of you against 4 Human Soul Realm experts. Can you still have some dignity? Even if you're used to being shameless, shouldn't you leave some dignity for St. Talisman Mountain?" The 3 Earth Soul Realm experts' faces darkened. "What? You want to fight in front of me?" The Mountain Lord of St. Talisman raised his eyebrows and a cold light flashed in his eyes. "That's because they deserve to die." Another voice sounded out, and a person suddenly appeared beside Zichen, raising his palm and striking down. Chapter 3897. The powerful pressure caused Zichen to stand motionless in his original spot. He could only watch as the palm descended. This palm could definitely kill him, even if he was in his peak state. Not only was it an attack from an Earth Soul Realm expert, but it was also the strongest Earth Soul Realm expert he had ever seen. Lan Jiu Meng and the others did not react at all. Like Zichen, they thought that after the Mount St. Talisman Mountain Lord appeared, all the trouble would be gone. They did not expect that there would be an Earth Soul Realm expert in the dark and even sneak an attack on Zichen. An Earth Soul Realm sneak attack? This was obviously a shameless act. Seeing that Zichen was about to die, a cold snort was suddenly heard. In the next moment, a tall old man appeared beside Zichen. He raised his palm to the sky and blocked the palm that was falling on his head. Boom! Violent energy surged, forming a terrifying airwave. Lan Jiu Meng, Shan Ya, and Xiao were immediately pushed back by the airwave and retreated far away from the battlefield. During this time, a gentle force supported the 3 of them. Otherwise, they might have been killed by the aftershock in their current state. The dignified Mount St. Soul Mountain Lord actually sneak attacked a Human Soul Realm expert. Do you have any shame? The Mount St. Talisman Mountain Lord's expression did not change much. He seemed to have expected this and could not help but mock. Zichen raised his head and saw that the tall old man was the Mount St. Beast Mountain Lord that he had seen before. His eyes were filled with gratitude. At the same time, he looked ahead and saw an unfamiliar old man. According to the Mount St. Talisman Mountain Lord's words, the old man should be the Mount St. Soul Mountain Lord. It was unexpected that 3 Mount St. Soul Mountain Lords would appear in today's battle. As a result, only the Mount St. Weapon Mountain Lord had not arrived among the 4 Mount St. Mountain Lords. At this moment, the Mount St. Soul Mountain Lord rushed forward again. Obviously, he wanted to kill Zichen. The Mount St. Beast Mountain Lord snorted coldly. His figure disappeared from Zichen's side and rushed toward the Mount St. Soul Mountain Lord. However, just as the Mount St. Beast Mountain Lord disappeared, Zichen felt another murderous intent appear behind him. By the time he felt the danger, the other party was already behind him. Death was near. It was none other than the 4th Mountain Chieftain, who hailed from the Sacred Weapon Mountain. He could have easily killed Zichen, but now, he was using a soul weapon. From this, one could see the intensity of his killing intent. "Sure enough, all of you are here." The Mountain Lord St. Talisman laughed instead of being surprised. In the sky, countless rays of light suddenly blossomed. A huge mirror of light appeared out of nowhere. A ray of light descended from the sky and landed on Zichen, protecting him. The Sacred Weapon Mountain Master's attack arrived, but after encountering the brilliance, it was unable to do anything. The powerful vibrations forced the Sacred Weapon Mountain Lord back. He looked up at the sky, and when he saw the mirror, he cried out, "The Sage Heavenly Mirror." What appeared in the sky was indeed the Sage Heavenly Mirror from the Sacred Mountain. Zichen, who was shrouded in the light, felt a surge of vitality falling from the sky. His injuries were visibly healing, and this effect was even more obvious than the recovery technique. At the same time, his depleted strength was also recovering. This surprised and delighted Zichen. On the other side, 3 more rays of light descended, enveloping Lan Jiu Meng, Shan Ya, and Zhu, and began to heal their injuries. The 2 mountain chieftains from the Sacred Weapon Mountain and the Sacred Soul Mountain Chieftain looked at the sky in disbelief. Clearly, they had never imagined that the Sage Heavenly Mirror that guarded the Sacred Mountain would appear here. The other Earth Soul Realm cultivators were also shocked. Only Old Tang exclaimed, "What extravagance!" The mountain chieftains from the Sacred Soul Mountain and the Sacred Weapon Mountain chieftains' expressions changed. After exchanging a glance, they saw the uneasiness in each other's eyes. Old Tang shouted, "Sacred Talisman, what is the meaning of this?" The mountain chieftain chuckled and said, "Shouldn't I be asking you and the Sacred Weapon this question? As mountain chieftains, why are you two not guarding the Sacred Mountain? Why are you here?" The Sacred Soul Mountain chieftain said coldly, "They took something they shouldn't have." The mountain chieftain said, "According to the rules of the Sacred Mountain, there is nothing they shouldn't have taken. The rules are set by the mountain chieftains. If we say they shouldn't have taken it, then they shouldn't have." The mountain chieftain of the Sacred Soul Mountain chieftain's attitude was still firm. The mountain chieftain of the Sacred Talisman said with a smile, "What if you are not the mountain chieftains?" The two mountain chieftains' expressions changed when they heard this. The mountain chieftain of the Sacred Talisman cupped his fists and bowed to the sky, saying, "Thank you." The sage heavenly mirror released rays of strong light, which shrouded the land, accompanied by powerful energy fluctuations. When the light disappeared, all the Earth Soul Realm cultivators except Old Tang had disappeared. On this day, the 4 mountain chieftains of the Sacred Mountain left the mountain together. But out of the 4 of them, only 2 returned. Looking at the disappearing sage heavenly mirror and the others, Zi Chen, who had recovered from his injuries, was puzzled. Old Tang walked towards him. "Old Tang, what is going on?" Zi Chen asked the question in his heart. "Before leaving, I was worried that you would encounter danger along the way, so I went to the mountain chieftain of the Sacred Talisman and asked him if he could secretly escort you along the way. He said that there was no need to worry and that everything was within his expectations." Old Tang sighed and said, "I just didn't expect them to make such an arrangement. This is too generous." Zi Chen was still puzzled. Shan Yue and the other 2 also walked over. With the help of the sage heavenly mirror, the 3 of them had recovered to their best condition. However, their clothes were torn in many places. Without the bloodstains, they were truly exposed. "If I'm not wrong, the mountain chieftain of the Sacred Mountain may be replaced," Old Tang said. "The mountain chieftain will be replaced? That's impossible. Every mountain chieftain of the Sacred Mountain is invincible. There is no power in the world that can kill them, not even the sage heavenly mirror," Xiao said. As a person from this area, she naturally knew about the Sacred Mountain. "That's true, but it's only limited to the Sacred Mountain. With the power of the Sacred Mountain, every mountain chieftain is invincible on their own mountain. However, once they leave the Sacred Mountain, without the protection of the Sacred Mountain, their combat strength will be reduced by at least half. Even if their strength was reduced by more than half, they could still easily kill Zi Chen. They were even stronger than ordinary earthly souls. After all, they were all mountain chieftains. How can this be?" Zi Chen still couldn't believe it. "Let's go. What happens next is a family matter of the Sacred Mountain. It has nothing to do with us," Old Tang said faintly. Actually, there was another question in his heart. Did the Mountain Lord of Mount Sage Talisman purposely use Zi Chen as bait to lure the other 2 Mountain Lords out bit by bit? The 2 mountain chieftains of the Sacred Weapon and Sacred Soul would never have thought that the mountain chieftains of the Sacred Beast and Sacred Soul, who had always ignored worldly matters, would want to kill them. Chapter 3898. The spectators at the back didn't know what had happened. When the sage heavenly mirror appeared, there was a mysterious energy that blocked their vision and aura, so no one could see what had happened. Zi Chen glanced at the corpses on the ground. Some of them were still bleeding. Noah wasn't next to him, and Pang Chang wasn't there either. The job of cleaning up the battlefield was naturally left to Zi Chen. Even the weakest cultivators here were in the human soul realm. Zi Chen plundered the place and obtained a lot of good things, including many Saint Soul weapons from Saint Weapon Mountain. He believed that once they reached Fanglin City, they would be able to sell them for a very good price. After cleaning up the battlefield, Zi Chen looked at the corpses on the ground and stomped his foot. The ground collapsed and thick smoke billowed. Those who had been killed by them were all buried in the ground. After that, Zichen's group of 5 returned to the team. However, those who were originally in the team subconsciously retreated. Obviously, they didn't dare to get close to Zichen. Just looking at the experts who had died in this battle was enough to make people tremble in fear. In fact, Zichen could have just left, but there were still many goods in the team. Since the leader Guodao was dead, Zichen was obligated to help them and escort them to their destination. After this battle, all their troubles had been resolved. He believed that the future would be smooth sailing. With Zichen's group in front, Old Tang no longer hid his tracks. The group set off for Fanglin City. After a short rest, Zichen looked at Old Tang across the bonfire and asked, "Aren't the 4 mountain lords the strongest on the sacred mountain? Why are there conflicts between them, to the point of scheming against each other and killing each other?" Shan Ya and the others also looked at Old Tang. They had the same doubts as Zichen. Old Tang sat there and pondered for a moment before saying, "To be precise, the leaders of the sacred talisman and the sacred beast wanted to kill." "Why?" Zichen asked again. In his impression, the leader of the sacred talisman mountain was very kind. He shouldn't be the kind of person who would scheme, let alone kill the innocent. Furthermore, killing a mountain lord was no small matter. Old Tang raised his head and quickly glanced at them. Zichen had a feeling that Old Tang was deliberately looking at Lan Jiyumeng. Could this matter be related to Lan Jiyumeng? This should be related to the current situation of the sacred mountain. The 2 mountain masters of the sacred beast and sacred talisman are extremely ancient existences, but they rarely care about the secular world. Everything is managed by the 2 mountain masters of the sacred mountain, sacred weapon and sacred soul. Old Tang said, "During this period of time, it is inevitable that there will be disagreements because of the amount of resources. However, these are only small conflicts and are not worth mentioning. However, in recent years, the 2 sacred mountains have clearly become arrogant and have done many outrageous things. Among them, the most influential one was the change of ownership of the Ou clan's Sacred Mountain Gambling House more than 100 years ago." Sacred Mountain Gambling House, Ou family? Zichen's expression changed. In that case, Ou Li didn't lie. He really is the young master of the Sacred Mountain Gambling House? Shan Ya and Lan Jiyumeng's expressions also changed. At that time, when Ou Li talked about this matter, they all took it as a joke. Old Tang nodded. That's right. Ou Li was indeed the young master of the gambling house. However, in the battle between Ou Li and Sacred Radiance, Ou Li lost to Sacred Radiance. At that time, Ou Li also lost the Sacred Mountain Gambling House. Although Ou Li later told me that there were other secrets to this battle, his defeat was already a fact. After that battle, the Sacred Mountain Gambling House should have been managed by Sacred Radiance. However, at the crucial moment, the Sacred Beast Mountain Lord suddenly came out of seclusion and dealt with this matter. In the end, the Ou clan lost the gambling house, but Sacred Radiance didn't completely get it. Even so, it shouldn't be to the extent of killing each other, right? It was just a small dispute of interest. Moreover, it had nothing to do with the Mountain Lord. How could it develop to such an extent? Zichen asked again. Old Tang said, "Perhaps it's because of the unity within the Sacred Mountain. If I'm not wrong this time, the Sacred Soul and Sacred Weapon Mountains will appoint new mountain masters. At that time, the 4 mountains will be completely unified. At that time, the strongest sacred mountain will be able to unite against outsiders." Zichen looked at Old Tang and said in disbelief, "Old Tang, are you sure there is an enemy that requires the 4 mountains to work together to deal with?" The Sacred Mountain was extremely powerful and had honorary elders all over the world. Zichen didn't believe that any power would dare to have any ideas about the Sacred Mountain. This is hard to say. However, since the Sacred Heavenly Mirror is willing to leave the Sacred Mountain to deal with this matter, it must be extremely important. Old Tang thought for a moment and said, "Do you know why the Sacred Mountain can send so many human soul realm experts?" Zichen shook his head, indicating that he didn't know. Because of the mirror spirit, even if they die in battle outside, the mirror spirit can still revive them, as long as they pay a certain price. But this time, it seems that they have miscalculated. Even the mountain master is gone, so it is impossible for them to be revived. I guess those people have been kept in the dark and don't know anything. If they die, they will die for real. Lan Jiu Meng, who was listening to old Tang, suddenly said, "When the sacred heavenly mirror appeared, I vaguely felt that I could control it." What? Hearing this, everyone looked at Lan Jiu Meng. To be honest, Zi Chen didn't have a good impression of the sacred heavenly mirror. This was because it had no rules at all and always did things its own way. If it hadn't healed his injuries and helped him for free, his impression of the sacred heavenly mirror would have been even worse. However, it was undeniable that the sacred heavenly mirror was extraordinary and powerful. Lan Jiu Meng could control the sacred heavenly mirror. The sacred heavenly mirror has its own consciousness. It can't be controlled by anyone. Maybe sister was in a trance when she was severely injured, Xiao said at this moment. Lan Jiu Meng nodded. Apparently, she also thought that this was a possibility. After all, the feeling in her heart at that time wasn't that strong. Old Tang, on the other hand, didn't comment on the situation. In his spare time, Zi Chen would comprehend spells. At present, he still had several spells that he had yet to comprehend. Among them, there were two that were the most powerful. One was the sacred talisman spell that could summon the sacred mountain battle spirit, and the other was a more advanced combat skill. When he returned from the assessment, Zi Chen had proposed to give this spell to Ou Li, but Ou Li had rejected him. These two spells were extremely difficult to comprehend. Even at his current level, Zi Chen still couldn't figure out a way to comprehend them after several days of meditation. Everything was just as Zi Chen had guessed. There was almost no danger on the road ahead. Occasionally, there would be some ignorant people, but they were just small problems that could be easily dealt with. The people in that team were still far behind Zi Chen. As long as Zi Chen stopped, they would stop as well. With Zi Chen guarding the road ahead, there would be no trouble. Along the way, Zi Chen and the others would temporarily stay in towns and cities. At the same time, they would see if other people wanted to buy something. However, as they moved forward, Zi Chen found that the road ahead was getting more and more lively. There were also more and more teams that they encountered. During this time, the things that everyone talked about the most were the grand event of the successor selection held in Fanglin City. There were occasional discussions about the change of the sacred mountain, but there were no valuable clues or information. As for whether the mountain master would change, no one talked about it. Shijiao was born and raised in this area, so she was very clear about the division of some forces. When the major forces fought openly and secretly, there would also be business between the two sides. She looked at Zi Chen and said, "If you want to talk about the most famous members of the Fang family, there are a total of 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. You've already met Fang Wulian, but his fame has nothing to do with his strength. He's a spoiled brat that everyone hates. It's said that he's not liked in the entire Fang family. If it weren't for his high status and good brother, he would have been killed countless times." Zi Chen had his own judgment of Fang Wulian. Zi Chen did not comment on what kind of person he was. He only believed in his own eyes. Shijiao continued, "The second one is Fang Wudao, the brother of that spoiled brat. His great fame was built bit by bit. He has the title of the strongest human soul in the Fang family. Is it just the Fang family?" Lan Jiu Meng asked. Shijiao said, "Sister, you might not know, but the people of the Fang family have always been proud. They don't even take the people of the sacred mountain seriously. Moreover, the direct descendants of the Fang family all have magic spirit robes that can attack and defend. The Fang family thinks that the family is the strongest, but it actually means the strongest in the world." Zi Chen said, "The strongest in the Fang family is the strongest in the world. They sure talk big." Shijiao said, "That Fang Wudao has too many brilliant achievements. It's normal for him to fight above his level. He has long been the successor of the Fang family. I just don't know why the Fang family is choosing a new successor this time. However, I think it's just a process." "What about the last one?" Zi Chen asked. "The last one is called Fang Wuling. She's not as famous as Fang Wudao, but in some famous families, she has an extremely high evaluation. Her combat strength might not be as good as Fang Wudao's, but she's better in terms of intelligence and is extremely difficult to deal with. Most importantly, she's Fang Wudao's younger sister. Zi Chen said, Fang Wudao's younger sister, and Fang Wulian is Fang Wudao's younger brother. Doesn't that mean that Fang Wulian and Fang Wuling are close relatives? They're close relatives, yes. To be precise, Fang Wulian is Fang Wuling's older brother. However, the relationship between the siblings is extremely bad. It's said that they don't recognize each other. However, the two of them are very close to Fang Wudao. Shijiao looked at Zi Chen and asked, this time, the Fang family is flourishing. Are you really going to help that spoiled brat Fang Wulian? Zi Chen nodded. This was what he had promised the other party. Just for the rewards he promised you. If that's the case, I suggest you look for Fang Wudao. Whether it's reputation or character, he's much better than Fang Wulian. Shijiao said, moreover, with the resources that Fang Wudao has, he's definitely much better than Fang Wulian. Zi Chen shook his head. Other than the rewards mentioned before, helping Fang Wulian this time was mainly to return the favor. This was the main reason. They arrived at Fanglin City. P.S. I caught a cold. It's very uncomfortable. That's all for today. Chapter 3899. Fanglin City was the headquarters of the Fang clan. The Fang clan started in this place, and later on, they built this city. The first time he saw Fanglin City, this famous city left a deep impression on Zi Chen. This was because the walls of this city were not made of hard and immortal stone, but thick green bamboos. At a glance, it was emerald green. There was still a distance from the city, but a faint bamboo fragrance wafted over. The bamboo fragrance that was inhaled seemed to contain a trace of pure soul power. Zi Chen's expression changed. He looked to the side and found that Lan Jiu Meng and Shan Yue had also made the same discovery. These green bamboos are clear spirit bamboos. They have the effect of condensing the soul. It is said that the Fang clan started out by selling a kind of iron tree that could be refined into weapons. After inadvertently obtaining a refining technique, they rose to power. Xiao looked at the rows of clear spirit bamboos in front and explained, the bamboos outside are considered ordinary compared to the Fang clans. The real good stuff is in the Fang clan. It is said that the Fang clan controls a small world called the Bamboo Sea. There are all kinds of amazing bamboos inside, and these clear spirit bamboos were transplanted from that small world. That small world is also the foundation of the Fang clan. Outsiders are forbidden to enter, and in the Fang clan, only the direct descendants are qualified to enter. The further they went, the stronger the bamboo fragrance and the more soul power it contained. They had not even entered the city yet, so what kind of scene would it be? Although the people of the Fang clan are all arrogant, I have to say that they have the capital to be arrogant. No one dares to provoke that second generation no matter where he goes. There are even many people who want to curry favor with him. This is somewhat reasonable. There were guards at the city gate, but they were only there to maintain order and did not charge extra. After entering the city, Xiao continued, every building here is expensive, and the closer to the Fang clan, the higher the price. It can be said to be sky high. Among them, the Fang clan specially divided a part of the buildings for the experts they recruited to live in free of charge. Carefully sensing the soul power contained in this city, Zi Chen could not help but sigh at the Fang clan's wealth. This scene was similar to his world. It was just that the ancient trees in his world were of a much lower grade than the bamboos here. This time, Zi Chen had truly broadened his horizons. Staying here, even on the streets, could still make people feel relaxed and happy. After entering the city, Shijiao looked at Zi Chen. Do you want to find a place to stay at the Undrunk restaurant? Zi Chen said, that's not necessary. Let's find a place to eat first. According to Fang Wulian's information, he should have known about this when they entered the city, so if the other party really wanted to, he would have come looking for them himself. Shijiao said, then let's go to the Undrunk tavern. Zi Chen had no objections to this because he could also tell Shijiao's family that he was safe. The Undrunk restaurant had branches in some big cities, so their business was naturally very good. After Zi Chen and his group came in, they directly asked for a private room. Originally, there was no such room, but after Shizhou introduced herself, there was naturally one. After eating, they found a nearby inn to stay. They did not stay at the Undrunk restaurant. It was unknown whether it was because of this golden age or some other reason, but the cost of accommodation was extremely high. Fortunately, the soul power in the room was denser, so it was worth the price. That night, Shan Kuei came looking for them, but Fang Wulian did not appear. Shan Kuei came here and only sent Zi Chen an invitation, indicating that Zi Chen should go to the Undrunk restaurant tomorrow. Fang Wulian rented an entire floor there and was going to hold a party tomorrow. After Shan Kuei left, the others came to Zi Chen's room. After learning about this, Shizhou said unhappily, "This Fang Wulian is too arrogant. He didn't come in person. You have to know that we went through a lot to get here." Zi Chen shook his head and said, "This is actually quite good. At least we won't be the target of public criticism." It was obvious that Fang Wulian had found a lot of helpers this time. After all, this matter was of great importance, and it was impossible for the other party to trust someone they had only met once or twice. If it were Zi Chen, it would be the same. The necessary vigilance was still necessary. Zi Chen looked at the three girls. Shizhou seemed to have guessed his thoughts and immediately said, "If you want to go, you go by yourself. The three of us will definitely not go. There are a lot of good things in Fanglin City. Tomorrow, the two sisters and I will go shopping. Maybe we can find something good." "That's good." Zi Chen knew that the three of them had a very bad impression of Fang Wulian, so he did not say anything. Old Tang sat next to him and did not say anything. The next day, when the sun was high up in the sky, Zi Chen took the invitation and went to the Undrunk restaurant. The Undrunk restaurant had its own internal area to entertain people of high status. It also had an external area that could be rented as long as one had enough blue crystal coins. After taking out the invitation, someone naturally led Zi Chen there. After a few months, Zi Chen saw Fang Wulian again. The other party was sitting on a wide chair with his legs crossed, watching the dancers with a wicked smile on his face. Shan Kuei stood behind him like an iron tower, like the most loyal guard. In addition to the two of them, there were more than a dozen people sitting in other places, all of them discussing something. As soon as Zi Chen came in, Fang Wulian saw him. He immediately stood up and waved at the dancers. "Young ladies, you're all dancing well. Now that the young master has an important guest, you can dance in my room tonight." As he said that, his eyes fiercely glared at those wonderful places. The dancers retreated one by one, but when they left the room, they all looked at Zi Chen curiously. "Everyone, let me introduce you. This is the famous Zi Chen. Back then, he created a huge miracle on the sacred mountain. He is also a good friend of mine, Fang Wulian." Fang Wulian stepped forward, took Zi Chen's hand, and introduced him to everyone. However, what he received in return was not a smiling face, but some cold faces. "So it's you. You've delayed us for a long time. Otherwise, this party would have started long ago." A thin man snorted coldly. "Zi Chen. His name is Wang Zhe. Although what he said is not pleasant to hear, it's the truth. They came early, but you didn't come. I delayed the party again and again until today," Fang Wulian explained. Zi Chen hurriedly cupped his fist and said apologetically, "Everyone, I'm sorry. Something happened on the way here, that's why we were delayed." Seeing that Zi Chen's attitude was sincere, the surrounding unfriendly gazes receded a little. Wang Zhe snorted and did not say anything. Chapter 3900. Fang Wulian's words caused many people's expressions to change. The location of the examination was the Bamboo Sea World. One had to know that it was the foundation of the Fang clan, and also their greatest secret. Outsiders could not go there, and even many of the Fang clan members could not go there. Only the direct descendants, the true direct descendants, had the qualifications to come in contact with it. Zi Chen's expression also changed. Before coming here, he had heard of the Bamboo Sea World. It was definitely the Fang clan's greatest secret. Everyone did not hear wrong. This time, the Bamboo Sea World is indeed my Fang clan's Bamboo Sea World. However, there are not only opportunities there, but also great dangers. Therefore, I need a strong person to be the leader and lead everyone. Fang Wulian pointed at Zi Chen and said proudly, Zi Chen is the best candidate. I believe in his strength. I also believe in my unique vision. If I say he can do it, then he can do it. If he can't, then he can. Once these words were spoken, the previously restrained unfriendly gazes once again stared at Zi Chen. This time, everyone's eyes became even colder. Zi Chen's reputation was great, but it was only limited to the Sagely Mountain City. During the examination, this was Fang Lin's city, and many people belonged to the local forces. Therefore, not many people knew about Zi Chen. Second young master, what are the benefits of being the leader? The person called Wang Zhe asked again. Fang Wulian said proudly, of course there are many benefits following me, let alone being the leader. All of you better wash your ears and listen carefully. The benefit of being the leader is that after everyone enters, they must listen to the leader's orders. Whoever dares to disobey will be killed immediately. In addition, no matter if you succeed or fail, you will receive a magic spiritual robe from me. Looking at everyone's changing expressions, Fang Wulian said in a serious tone, the magic spiritual robe is of a high grade, the kind that is not sold to the public. My products are all of the best quality. Once these words were spoken, everyone's eyes flashed, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. If that was the case, the benefits of being the leader were too great. For a moment, everyone cast provocative gazes at Zi Chen. Wang Zhe continued, if that's the case, then I'm not convinced that Zi Chen is the captain. That's right, we're not convinced either. The others also chimed in one after another. No one was willing to let such a huge benefit fall into someone else's hands. Zi Chen remained silent. He didn't say anything, nor did he express any opinion on whether or not he should be the team leader. If you feel that this arrangement is inappropriate, you can raise objections or issue a challenge. After all, only the strongest person is qualified to become the captain, and only then will everyone be convinced. The smile on Fang Wulian's face did not diminish, and he was very proud of himself. Zi Chen, who had been expressionless all this while, frowned slightly. He could no longer see through Fang Wulian's true thoughts. Fang Wulian sat down again and crossed his legs, saying, this is how this young master does things. As long as you have enough strength, feel free to challenge me. This young master has plenty of resources, but I'm just afraid that you're not strong enough. As soon as he said this, everyone became even more confident. Wang Zhe said again, Zi Chen, do you dare to accept my challenge? Zi Chen, who was sitting to the side, slowly shook his head and said, I don't accept the challenge, and I don't want to be the team leader. When everyone heard this, they were stunned. They didn't expect Zi Chen to give such a reply. Even Fang Wulian's expression changed. He looked at Zi Chen and said, Zi Chen, you don't have to be polite with them. I think very highly of you, and the position of team leader is yours. You will definitely beat these arrogant fools until they are convinced. Fang Wulian's words made everyone feel uncomfortable, but they didn't dare to get angry at Fang Wulian. They could only stare coldly at Zi Chen. Zi Chen, second young master thinks very highly of you. Do you dare to fight with me? Wang Zhe provoked again, second young master thinks so highly of your strength. Don't you want to show your strength? Zi Chen was still unmoved. He glanced at Wang Zhe and said, since you want to be the team leader so much, this position is yours. After saying this, Zi Chen stood up and said, get someone to inform me when we are leaving. I will listen to the new team leader's arrangements. The smile on Fang Wulian's face disappeared, and even Shan Kuei was stunned. In his opinion, this was clearly the young master's good intentions. It was only a friendly match, and he believed that with Zi Chen's strength, he would be able to easily win and obtain a magic robe. Why wouldn't he be happy? However, Zi Chen rejected without even thinking. Fang Wulian, this is the team leader you think so highly of. He doesn't even dare to accept a challenge. Isn't he too cowardly? At this moment, a sarcastic female voice came from outside the door. A beautiful woman in green with a slender waist pushed open the door and entered. Seeing the woman, Fang Wulian's eyes flashed. He immediately stood up and said, Sister, why are you here? Fang Wulian, watch your words. I am not your sister. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will cut off your tongue. Fang Wulian patted his face lightly and said flatteringly, "Look at my mouth. It's only for a moment." "Wuling, why are you suddenly here?" Shijiao said that there were 3 famous people in the Fang family. One of them was called Fang Wuling. Could it be her? Zichen looked at the woman in green. When Fang Wuling saw how Fang Wulian was fawning over her, she couldn't help but sneer. "I heard that you held a big banquet here and recruited many experts. I came here to see what kind of trash you are. I didn't expect to be so disappointed." Fang Wulian laughed and said, "I am just making a small fuss. The family gave me a chance. I can't waste the family's good intentions, right?" "Wuling, don't be offended." Fang Wuling said, "Offended? How is that possible? You are the son of a lowly servant. Are you worthy? To be honest, a shameless guy like you shouldn't be qualified. I am not interested in you or your people." That's right. Wuling, you are right." Fang Wulian was not angry at such deliberate ridicule. Instead, he nodded repeatedly. This made many people look at him strangely. This second generation was like a completely different person from before. In front of Fang Wuling, he was like a dog. There was no trace of his previous arrogance. Fang Wuling no longer paid any attention to Fang Wulian. Instead, she looked at Zichen and said, "I came here today to see you." "Are you really Zichen?" Zichen nodded and said, "That's me." Fang Wuling said, "I couldn't tell. Zichen, who can mess up the sacred mountain, is actually so timid. He doesn't even dare to challenge me. I really wonder if you are a fake." Zichen smiled and said, "That's possible." Fang Wuling looked at Zichen from head to toe. She blinked and said, "Why don't you be my team leader? I'll pay you double the reward that Fang Wulian gave you."